Chapter 21:45. How terrifying! What was that? All the experts present exclaimed. Although they were separated by a formation, they still felt a sense of fear. It was as if that sword light could destroy their souls. What was that? Could it be that this brat still had a terrifying treasure sword in his hand? Everyone was terrified. The Golden Lion King also furrowed his brows because he also felt a biting cold aura that made his entire body shiver. Buzz. In the next moment, he waved his hand and a golden spear was formed from the endless sea of flames. He held it in his hand. With a thrust of the spear, heaven and earth were shattered. However, that chilling aura didn't disappear. It seemed to be getting heavier. No one knew that at this moment, a dragon-shaped sword shadow appeared in front of Lin Xian. Then, it was held by Lin Xian and slashed out. Boom! The sky changed color, and the surrounding space shattered. This sword chi shattered the void and directly slashed toward the Golden Lion King. In an instant, a large area of the sea of flames was extinguished. It was as if cold water was poured over it, and it quickly disappeared. The Golden Lion King's figure appeared in front of everyone. When they saw a sharp sword light slashing toward them, everyone was shocked. The elders of the royal family also exclaimed. The Golden Lion King's pupils constricted. He roared, "Get lost!" In the next moment, he waved the spear in his hand and turned it into a golden lion, charging over. Boom! A collision shook the sky. That lion pounced on the sword light and kept biting. However, this time, it was useless. This was the power of the great dragon sword soul. It was incomparably terrifying. In an instant, it slashed the lion into two. What? It was destroyed? How could this be? The Golden Lion King was stunned. However, in an instant, that sword light arrived in front of him. Damn it! Block it for me! This sword light was too fast. It was so fast that the Golden Lion King found it hard to believe. Therefore, he could only raise the golden spear in his hand to block. Crack! However, in the next moment, the golden spear broke and turned into countless flames, scattering in all directions. As for the Golden Lion King, he was sent flying by this sword. The golden flames on his body were split apart, revealing a golden armor. That said, the golden armor was unable to withstand the golden light. A crack appeared on it. The Golden Lion King was sent flying as it spat out large mouthfuls of blood, dyeing its body red. What? The Golden Lion King was sent flying. Furthermore, he was injured. Everyone was going crazy. Even the royal family elder couldn't believe it. Even the empress cried out in alarm. Her face was filled with shock. The Golden Lion King was invited by her. He was a genius of the war race and was unrivaled. It could be said that he was a genius born for battle. But now, she was actually sent flying by someone. She simply couldn't believe it. Beside her, His Majesty's eyes were like rainbows as he stared fixedly at the screen. At this moment, everyone was stunned. Boom! Boom! The Golden Lion King was sent flying for several thousand miles. Along the way, it destroyed countless mountains, palaces, and pavilions. Dust and smoke filled the air as golden flames burned. Lin Xian snorted coldly. He turned into a stream of light and flew forward. He didn't know what kind of damage this sword would cause to the Golden Lion King, but he couldn't stay here any longer, because it wouldn't be long before the formation enveloped him once more. Therefore, he had to leave quickly. At the next moment, he waved his hand. The dragon sword domain flew over and merged with him. Finally, it turned into an azure dragon. With a swing of its tail, it tore through the void and flew toward the valley ahead. Boom! Boom! At this moment, Lin Xian was truly powerful to the extreme. Therefore, there was nothing that could stop him. Did he disappear? Did that brat enter the valley? Damn it! I can't see clearly. In the Grand Imperial Hall, the royal family elders were roaring furiously, because the screen in front of them no longer showed Lin Xian's figure. They couldn't do anything about it. They could only see the scene around the third prince. However, the third prince was currently trapped in the seal. They couldn't come out for a while. Therefore, they couldn't see into the valley at all. They could only be anxious. Even His Majesty's face was slightly gloomy. However, he couldn't do anything about it. Damn it! Did that brat enter? Could it be that the heavenly treasure was obtained by that brat? Outside, the third prince and the surrounding almighties were all screaming madly. They also wanted to chase after him. However, they couldn't even break through the light screen in front of them. Lin Xian continued forward, tearing through countless rays of light. Finally, he arrived at the valley. His figure swayed and landed. The dragon sword domain revolved around him, supporting a space. It protected his safety. It couldn't be helped. The aura in the valley was too cold. When the rays of light hit the dragon sword domain, they produced a shocking collision sound. Fortunately, the dragon sword domain was evolved from the great dragon sword soul. Therefore, it was extremely sturdy. Otherwise, if it was an elite expert's domain, it would probably be penetrated in an instant. How terrifying. Damn it. What exactly is that? Lin Xian's expression was serious. He realized that the light pillar in front of him was even more terrifying than he had imagined. Previously, when he was outside the valley, he didn't feel it. However, now that he was inside the valley, every aura made his heart tremble. In the next moment, he used the heavenly secret god eyes. The golden light was like a sharp sword that pierced through the void. Through the countless rays of light, Lin Xian saw the scene inside clearly. Soon, he was stunned. A hint of passion appeared in his eyes, and his body became excited, because in front of him was an ancient sword that was inserted into the soil. That ancient sword was very simple and unadorned. It was obvious that it was an ancient item. That terrifying pillar of light was emitted by this ancient sword. A peerless treasure sword. This was definitely a peerless treasure sword. Lin Xian was extremely shocked. As a swordsman, he could naturally feel the aura emitted by the long sword in front of him. It was much more terrifying than the 9 Hell Demon sword in his hand. In fact, it had completely surpassed those top-grade treasured sabers that he had obtained before. One had to know that those sabers were all top-grade Earth-rank treasures. However, in front of this ancient sword, they were nothing at all. The difference between the two was like the sun and the moon and a firefly. One could imagine how terrifying the grade of the ancient sword in front of him was. Could it be that it was a heaven-ranked treasure that surpassed an earth-ranked treasure? Thinking of this, Lin Xian was shocked and sucked in a breath of cold air. If this was true, then he would definitely be rich. A heaven-ranked treasure was the same as a heaven-ranked cultivation technique. They were extremely special, and each of them was a priceless treasure. Lin Xian had already tasted the power of a heaven-rank cultivation technique. He had practiced the first few moves of the chaotic Heaven Destroyer sword, and its power had far surpassed all Earth-rank martial arts. And the heaven-rank treasure in front of him automatically emitted light that could penetrate an elite almighty. One could imagine how terrifying it was. If he could obtain it and use it with the great dragon sword soul, then his combat strength would reach an incomparably heaven-defying realm. However, there was a problem now. How was he going to obtain this heaven-ranked treasure sword? Chapter 2146. Just by standing there and feeling the surrounding light, it was already very difficult to resist. If he continued forward, the resistance would be even greater. And the truth was indeed so. Lin Xian had just taken a few steps when he felt the sword qi in front of him. It was like a wild beast, crazily pouncing on him. He had no choice but to stop. In the next moment, Lin Xian stopped. His eyes flickered as he thought of a countermeasure. And just as Lin Xian was thinking of how to obtain the heaven-ranked treasure sword, a long roar came from outside. Then, a golden light tore through the sky. The Golden Lion King quickly charged over. His hair was disheveled, and golden light engulfed his body. He was like an angry demon king, with killing intent surging all over his body. Angry. He was really too angry, because no one had ever been able to injure him, and he was actually injured by a king younger than him. This was intolerable. The sword wound on his body was healed by a secret technique, but the anger in the Golden Lion King's heart could not be quelled. Especially when he knew that Lin Xian had already entered the valley ahead, he roared even more furiously. He waved his hands and tore through the void, flying forward quickly. The Golden Lion King also entered. Seeing this scene, the powerhouses around the third prince exclaimed. The imperial family elder also cried out in surprise. His face was full of envy, but there was nothing he could do. He could only watch helplessly. However, they were very puzzled. Did Lin Xian obtain the treasure? And could the Golden Lion King reverse the situation? Who would obtain the heavenly treasure in the end? They did not know, but they were very anxious. At this moment, a red-clothed powerhouse at the side said, "Third Prince, don't hesitate. Quickly use your trump card. Otherwise, we won't have any chance." "That's right, Third Prince. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. You must not miss it." The surrounding powerhouses all advised. The Third Prince's face was gloomy, as if he was thinking. In the end, he gritted his teeth and decided to use his trump card. It was not that he did not have any trump cards, but he was prepared to use them to deal with the First Prince, because the First Prince was the greatest threat to his position as the Crown Prince. If he used them rashly, it would be difficult to deal with the First Prince in the future. But now, he could not care so much. Judging from the light in front of him and the image of heaven and earth, this was definitely a rare treasure. If he could obtain it, he might be able to defeat the First Prince. Thinking of this, his expression turned serious as he took out a weapon from his storage ring. It was something similar to a pair of scissors. However, it was not an ordinary pair of scissors. Instead, it was a terrifying treasure formed by two flood dragons coiling around each other. Flood dragon scissors. A top-grade Earth-step artifact. Boom, boom. In the next moment, the Third Prince activated his Tao of Dragon aura and infused it into the scissors in his hand. Immediately, the Jiao Dragon scissors trembled as if it had come alive. As for the two flood dragons, they were spiraling around each other and letting out deafening roars. Boom, boom. Then, he violently slammed into the light screen in front of him. Then, the light screen shattered, and the Third Prince was freed. However, he didn't stop. Instead, he quickly helped the surrounding powerful beings out of their predicament. After the Almighties broke free, they poured their spiritual energy into the Jiao Dragon scissors. Instantly, the scissors grew bigger. They were thousands of feet long, as if two real flood dragons had come back to life. They roared at the sky, waved their claws, and tore their mouths apart. In an instant, all the Almighties on the Third Prince's side were rescued. The Jiao Dragon scissors were the Third Prince's treasure. It seemed that the Third Prince was really going to use his trump card. When the royal elders saw this scene, they began to discuss among themselves. The eyes of the royal elders who supported the Third Prince flickered. It seemed that the Third Prince was really going to get serious. If that was the case, the Third Prince might have a chance. The Third Prince was not weak. He was definitely a top genius. Moreover, the Jiao Dragon scissors was definitely not the only trump card he had. If he used all of them, coupled with the help of the surrounding Almighties, perhaps even the Golden Lion King would not be able to fight against him. These people discussed animatedly. As for the Third Prince, he led for Almighties and quickly charged over. Boom. In the valley, Lin Xian was thinking about how to get the Heaven Ancient Sword in front of him. At this moment, an angry roar came from behind, accompanied by an extremely terrifying energy. In the next moment, he frowned and turned around. Then, he saw a golden figure charging over. However, the moment that figure entered the valley, he was stunned and slowed down. Obviously, that was the Golden Lion King. Moreover, he felt the impact of the terrifying sword chi in the valley. As expected, after entering the valley, the Golden Lion King's expression became incomparably serious. In the end, he had no choice but to create an illusory lion to cover his body. Only then could he ensure his safety. What was this place? What was in front of him? The Golden Lion King's expression was grave, and his eyes flickered. He did not expect that the aura in the valley would be so terrifying. Even if he was a genius of the war tribe, he still had to be careful. Soon, he looked around and saw Lin Xian's figure. His face immediately turned gloomy. However, he did not make a move. Instead, he snorted coldly. Because the aura was so terrifying, it was very disadvantageous for him to make a move. Moreover, the most important reason for coming to this valley was to get the treasures inside. He decided to wait until he got the treasures before killing Lin Xian to avenge the hatred in his heart. In the next moment, the Golden Lion King took a step forward, wanting to walk forward. However, the more he walked, the more frightened he became. In the end, the illusory golden lion on his body was pierced through by the terrifying sword Qi. He had no choice but to stop. Moreover, he had to create a golden domain to cover himself. Next, the Golden Lion King also encountered trouble. Moreover, he was also thinking about how to walk forward and get the treasures. Seeing this scene, Lin Xian sneered. It seemed that the Golden Lion King also could not get close. However, at this moment, the sound of something breaking through the air came from behind again. Seeing this scene, Lin Xian raised his eyebrows and turned around. Someone else came in? Who could it be? The third prince? However, he soon discovered that it was indeed the third prince. Not only the third prince, but there were also 4 elite powerhouses beside the third prince. Their faces were gloomy as they flew over with all their strength. It was really them. Lin Xian was shocked. He did not expect the third prince to have escaped. Moreover, all the powerhouses beside him had escaped. As expected of a prince of the imperial family, the third prince indeed had a trump card in his hand. When Lin Xian saw the 2 huge flood dragons surrounding the third prince, he narrowed his eyes. The aura that the other party was emitting was definitely a treasure. Moreover, it was a top-grade treasure. It seemed that he had underestimated the third prince. Chapter 2147. Lin Xian squinted his eyes when he saw the 2 giant dragons surrounding the third prince. The aura that the third prince was emitting was definitely a treasure. Moreover, it was a top-notch treasure. It seemed that he had underestimated the third prince previously. However, he did not pay too much attention to it. So what if the third prince had a trump card? It would not be easy for him to make a move in this valley. The Golden Lion King also turned his head and glanced at the third prince and the others. Then, he withdrew his gaze and no longer paid attention to them. What he needed to do now was to find a way to get closer. As expected, when the third prince came in, he was overjoyed because he saw Lin Xian and the Golden Lion King standing in front of him. It seemed that he did not succeed. This way, he would definitely have a chance to get the treasure. But soon, he frowned and there was even a hint of shock in his eyes. After entering the valley, he felt that the pressure had multiplied. The surrounding light pillars were a great threat to him. It caused the 2 dragons beside him to tremble slightly. Buzz. In the end, the third prince had no choice but to stop and land in the valley. Then, he looked around in bewilderment. The elite almighties behind him were also frowning. Pressure, threat, they felt a great sense of danger. It was as if the light pillars in front of them could easily take their lives. What was that thing? How could it have such a terrifying aura? The third prince and the others were extremely shocked. The imperial family elders were also exclaiming. Through the third prince, they finally saw the scene in the valley. Lin Xian was there. The Golden Lion King was there too. Neither of them succeeded. That was great. Many of the imperial family elders let out a sigh of relief. That was because neither Lin Xian nor the Golden Lion King were from their imperial family. If they got the treasure, it would not be good for the imperial family. But if the third prince got it, it would be different. After all, the third prince was a member of the imperial family of the Tai dynasty. Moreover, he was a prince. If the third prince got it, it would be equivalent to the strength of the Tai dynasty increasing. But very quickly, these imperial family elders frowned because they discovered that the third prince and the others had stopped as well. They were no longer moving forward. What was going on? Why aren't you moving? Some elders frowned, while the other elders said, it seemed like this valley was not simple. Even Lin Xian and the Golden Lion King did not act rashly. Presumably, there was a huge crisis. Look, the flood dragon scissors are even shaking. Heavens, what kind of power is this? To be able to make the flood dragon scissors tremble? Some of the elders noticed this and many of them cried out in surprise. The flood dragon scissors was a top-tier earth rank artifact. Moreover, with the support of the Tao of Dragon, its power could be multiplied. It could be said to be incomparably terrifying. However, even with that being the case, The ravine was still trembling uncontrollably. From that, one could imagine how terrifying the aura and power inside was. What the hell was that? I don't know. However, from the looks of it, if it was a treasure, it would definitely surpass the Earth rank. Could it be a heaven-step treasure? Thinking of this, they sucked in a breath of cold air. Even their Tai dynasty only had a few heaven-grade treasures. The third prince and the others stopped in their tracks and looked ahead in bewilderment. Buzz. At this moment, an elder raised his hand and shot out a blue light shield, which flew forward. This was a mid-tier Earth-rank artifact. At this moment, it flew forward like a meteor. However, after flying for a few dozen meters, it exploded into pieces. Such terrifying power. Seeing this scene, the third prince and the others' faces turned ugly. They could not break a mid-tier Earth-rank artifact, but here, it shattered so easily. One could only imagine how terrifying the situation ahead was. Even if they had a top-tier Earth-rank artifact, they might not be able to come out unscathed. It seemed like they had to make a good plan. At this moment, the Golden Lion King moved. He looked ahead like a god of war and took out a golden treasure wheel. That golden treasure wheel kept enlarging. In the end, it was like a mountain, completely enveloping the Golden Lion King. The golden treasure wheel was incomparably dazzling. It emitted mysterious runes and revolved around the Golden Lion King. That terrifying aura blocked the countless rays of light in front. Buzz. The Golden Lion King began to move its feet and walked forward. Although it had the protection of the supreme treasure wheel, it walked very carefully. Damn it, this Golden Lion King actually has such a treasure. Seeing this scene, the third prince and the others' faces turned ugly. On the other side, Lin Xian also made his move. He had many treasures in his hands. Heaven and earth treasures, cultivation techniques, secret manuals, and all kinds of artifacts. Even the wealth of a peerless almighty might not be as much as his. However, after looking around, he could not find anything that could resist the aura and power here. However, he thought of something else. The sage's handbone. This was something he had spent a lot of effort and luck to obtain last time. It had been left in the black earth all this time. Because the sage's handbone was too powerful, he could not control it. However, it seemed that he had to take it out in advance. The sage's handbone should be able to resist the heaven-rank ancient sword. Therefore, Lin Xian communicated with He Tu and decided to use the sage's handbone. Buzz. In the next moment, Lin Xian's expression turned solemn. Chapter 2148. After all, he was already here. If he were to go back now, he would definitely be unwilling. Therefore, he decided to use his trump card again. Buzz. A silver-white light appeared from his body and hung above his head. It was a silver bottle that was half a meter tall. There were mysterious runes carved on it. Under the support of the dragon aura, it quickly expanded and formed a silver light that enveloped Prince Shan and the others. The Imperial Bottle. It wasn't an Earth-rank artifact, but an Imperial Bottle. It was refined by the top blacksmith of the Imperial Physician dynasty. It was extremely powerful, even surpassing a top-grade artifact. However, there was also a shortcoming, and that was that the number of times he could use it was limited. Normally, he could only use it 3 to 5 times. It could be said that it was extremely precious. Unless it was an emergency, it wouldn't be taken out. Sure enough, when the third prince took out the royal Dao bottle, the elders in the Grand Imperial Hall began to discuss after seeing it. It seemed that the third prince had made up his mind and was determined to obtain freedom. Otherwise, he wouldn't take out the Imperial Bottle. That's right. This item should be used in the final battle against the first prince and the 8th prince. Now that he took it out, what would he use at that time? There was no choice. The item in front was too tempting. If he could get it, even the first prince wouldn't be able to fight against him. Everyone was discussing, but their eyes were all on the light screen. Even the Empress was nervous. Fortunately, the Golden Lion King was still inside, and it seemed to be walking at the front. This made her feel more at ease. As long as the Golden Lion King got the treasure, he would be able to help the first prince defeat the other princes. However, what made her worried was that the young man called Lin Xian was following closely behind. His speed wasn't slow either. Lin Xian was the 8th prince's man. She couldn't let him get the treasure. The empress snorted in her heart. Boom, boom, boom. At this moment, the Golden Lion King arrived. When he was 100 meters away from the center, the pressure and power there became stronger again. Clang. The Golden Lion King also suffered a great impact. The golden wheel above his head emitted an incomparable light. The two of them clashed, creating a shocking collision. The handsome face of the Golden Lion King was also somewhat malevolent. He roared angrily, and the golden wheel blossomed with light. It was like a sun as it spun quickly. Then, they formed beams of powerful light that tore the void into pieces. Under the terrifying rotation of the golden wheel, the murderous aura permeated the surroundings and shattered the pressure in front of him. This caused the Golden Lion King to move forward once again. How terrifying! When the royal elders saw this scene, they cried out in alarm. This should be the War Clan's magical treasure, right? It was incomparably terrifying after all. On the other side, Lin Xian had also reached the 100-meter mark. Suddenly, he felt the pressure increase exponentially. Immediately, his black battle armor began to tremble rapidly. The light on it also trembled non-stop as if it would shatter at any moment. Lin Xian took a deep breath as a sharp glint appeared in his eyes. In the next moment, he carefully shot a beam of energy at the saint's hand bone. Wong. The sage's hand bone released a terrifying pressure that blasted away the energy in front of it. Lin Xian felt that the pressure on him had decreased a lot, which made him heave a sigh of relief. However, he still walked forward with a serious expression. This brat had also successfully entered. What is that thing in his hand? The royal elders cried out in alarm. They couldn't see it clearly. It couldn't be helped. It was just a light screen. They couldn't see through the light to see the real thing. However, thinking about it, it was definitely a rare treasure. Everyone looked at Lin Xian. Their eyes flickered as if they wanted to pierce through the void. However, they couldn't do it at all. But soon, these imperial family elders looked at the third prince. The imperial vase above the third prince's head released a supreme aura as it led the powerful beings forward quickly. When he reached the 100-meter mark, he also felt the pressure increase exponentially. As a result, the imperial vase emitted a supreme aura. Strands of golden aura drooped down and coiled around the third prince like a golden dragon, blocking the pressure. The third prince and the others set off again. They carefully walked forward. Boom. When they reached the 50-meter mark, the pressure increased exponentially again. The Golden Lion King stopped in its tracks. However, it soon roared and blew the huge horn on its head again, causing it to spin rapidly. It was like a divine artifact, releasing a terrifying power. When Lin Xian reached the 50-meter mark, he also felt the impact. He carefully injected another beam of energy. Then, the pressure of a saint erupted again. The third prince also pushed the imperial vase above his head. Like a divine artifact, thousands of beams of light hung down. The three of them resisted the pressure of the 50-meter mark. However, the speed of the three of them became extremely slow, because if they went further, the pressure would become even more terrifying. Even if the three of them had powerful treasures in their hands, they still had to be careful. When they reached the 40-meter mark, the Golden Lion King stopped. His face was a little pale. It was obvious that using the imperial vase with all his strength consumed a lot of his energy. Lin Xian didn't move forward rashly, because he was a little afraid of the saint's hand bone in his hand. If this thing were to explode, it would be a terrifying threat to him. The third prince and the others also stopped. At this moment, not only the third prince, but the four powerful beings around him were also crazily injecting their internal energy into the imperial vase. They used the power of this artifact to the extreme. However, when they reached the 40-meter mark, their scalps also went numb. The pressure here was already extremely great. The five of them had no choice but to use all their strength. However, when they reached the 35-meter mark, the imperial vase above the Golden Lion King's head suddenly emitted a cracking sound. A small crack appeared on it, and it quickly became bigger. What? That artifact was actually broken. When the imperial family elders saw this scene, they were extremely shocked. Although the imperial vase was separated by a light screen, they could imagine how terrifying it was. However, now, it actually couldn't withstand the pressure of the light pillar that reached the sky. It was simply too unbelievable. The Golden Lion King's expression also stiffened. Then, he stopped. His face was incomparably gloomy. That was because the imperial vase above his head had a crack. This was the artifact he brought out from the war race. It was even more terrifying than a peak Earth-rank artifact. However, now that a crack had appeared, he couldn't help but be shocked. At the same time, he also felt a trace of pain. Therefore, he stopped for a moment, because he didn't dare to move forward. If the imperial vase cracked, then the impact on him would be huge. Boom. It wasn't just the Golden Lion King. A crack also appeared on the imperial vase above the third prince's head. This made the faces of the third prince and the others become incomparably ugly. Chapter 2149. The imperial elders were also shocked. What? Even the imperial treasured vase cracked. Just what kind of terrifying realm had that pressure reached? Perhaps even a peerless expert wouldn't dare to stay here. What about that kid with the surname Lin? Did his item crack? Everyone looked at Lin Xian. Lin Xian stopped 35 meters away and didn't move. It was impossible for the sage's hand bone to crack. However, cracks appeared on the light on his body, and it seemed like it would shatter at any time. However, Lin Xian gritted his teeth and undid the first seal. The sage's aura increased greatly. The damaged light screen was restored once again. Lin Xian also wore a jade pendant. This jade pendant was also given to him by Hey Tuesday. It could be used to establish a connection with the seal on the sage's hand. This way, he wouldn't be affected too much. As expected, Lin Xian felt that the sage's aura had weakened a lot when he wore the jade pendant. If he didn't have the jade pendant, he would have no choice but to use the great dragon sword soul. Regardless of whether it was the sage's oppressive might or the sky-reaching pillar of light, the pressure brought about by them was simply too strong. Fortunately, he wasn't in too much of a threat right now. Therefore, in the next moment, he moved forward again. What? That kid's treasure wasn't damaged? How was that possible? When the imperial elders saw this scene, their eyeballs almost popped out. Even the imperial treasured vase and the war race's treasure were cracked. What kind of treasure did this kid have that he could be safe and sound? Damn it! Where did this kid come from? Wasn't he too mysterious? What kind of treasure did he have to be able to resist such a terrifying power? Discussions could be heard. Even the Empress's eyes were cold. The Emperor's eyes flickered. Damn it! When the third prince and the others saw this scene, their faces darkened. Their imperial treasured vase cracked, but the other party was fine. They couldn't believe it. On the other side, the Golden Lion King didn't say anything. However, he also stared at Lin Xian's figure with a cold, killing intent in his eyes. In the next moment, he roared again and walked forward. Ka. Following the Golden Lion King's footsteps, the cracks on the golden chakra above its head became even bigger. In an instant, 3 cracks appeared, and they were still increasing. On the other side, the third prince and the others were also gritting their teeth. He and the 4 elite powerhouses were going all out to get out of the ecliptic Aquarius. Cracks also appeared on the surface of the sword, spreading all over it. From the looks of it, it would shatter at any moment. In the end, Lin Xian was the first to reach the 30-meter mark and stopped. The Golden Lion King followed closely behind. However, when it reached the 30-meter mark, the pressure once again doubled. This caused the golden wheel above his head to instantly shatter into pieces. Humph! A sharp radiance appeared in the Golden Lion King's eyes. At the same time, a magic treasure quickly appeared on its body. That was a large golden cauldron. It was like a giant mountain as it floated above his head. Tens of thousands of streaks of radiance hung down, surrounding him, so that he would not be harmed by the beam of light. However, his face was unusually pale. Boom! When the third prince and the others arrived, the zodiac treasured vase above their heads shattered. The third prince and the others cried out in surprise. Then, the flood dragon scissors turned into 2 giant dragons that were hundreds of feet long and surrounded them. Then, these people quickly retreated. When they reached the 50-meter mark, a purple pagoda appeared above their heads. It protected the third prince and the 4 elite powerhouses, temporarily withstanding the pressure. However, the 5 people's faces were incomparably ugly, because they had failed. With the power of the Emperor-based treasure, they could only withstand the pressure for 30 meters. They could not withstand any further. Even if the third prince still had an Emperor-based treasure, he would not be able to reach the end. Therefore, their faces were extremely ugly. Was the third prince going to give up? The imperial family elders also cried out in surprise. They could see that the third prince did not have the ability to reach the end. There was no other way. They were not well prepared. Not to mention the third prince. Even the 8th prince and the eldest prince might not be able to reach the end. Damn it. If only we could go in. The imperial family elder gritted his teeth. The other elders also said, yes, even if we could not go in, we could have gotten the news in advance. We would have let these princes bring more treasures. But now, they were not well prepared. It seemed that they could only wait for the next time. An elder sighed. Yes, even an emperor-based treasure could not withstand the pressure. The Golden Lion King and Lin Xian would not be able to reach the end. No one would be able to take the treasure. It was okay. This space was always under the control of the Tai dynasty. Next time, we would definitely be well prepared. At that time, we would definitely get the treasure. These elders discussed animatedly and began to prepare for the next entry. After all, the pressure emitted by the treasure was too terrifying. It was definitely a heaven-grade treasure. If they could get it, the strength of the Tai dynasty would increase. This was a very important matter to them. Of course, all their plans were based on the premise that the Golden Lion King and Lin Xian would not be able to get the treasure in the end. Therefore, all the imperial family elders were looking at the Golden Lion King. They were all looking at Lin Xian and the Golden Lion King. The Golden Lion King had a golden cauldron on his head. His body was overflowing with light, and a mysterious rune appeared on his forehead. It seemed that the Golden Lion King had activated the power of his bloodline. The golden cauldron on his head was not simple either. They wondered if he could reach the end. Those imperial family elders discussed, but many of them shook their heads. It was too difficult. The Golden Lion King was too young. If he had the cultivation of a peerless almighty, he would definitely be able to reach the end. But now, he was still far from it. As the crowd discussed among themselves, many of them turned to look at Lin Xian. Lin Xian's face was also very serious. The sage's hand bone in front of him was emitting a monstrous aura, blocking the pressure that filled the sky. Countless sword chi surrounded his body, protecting him. He was not worried about the sage's hand bone breaking because it was hard to find in the world. No matter how strong the pressure in front of him was, it might not be able to break the hand bone. What he needed to do was to protect himself and not be threatened by the sage's aura. However, He-Tu and the Crimson Dragon seemed to be very reliable this time. The jade pendant they gave him played a huge role. The two of them slowly moved forward. However, when they were 25 meters away, another crack appeared on the golden cauldron on the Golden Lion King's head. This made the Golden Lion King's face unsightly. The rune on his forehead shone even more brightly. An incomparably terrifying bloodline power gushed out from the Golden Lion King's forehead and poured into the golden cauldron. The war race was born for battle. This was not a joke. At this moment, the bloodline power in the Golden Lion King's body was surging non-stop. Soon after, a huge golden illusion appeared on his body. Chapter 2150. Roar. The golden figure roared towards the sky. Its body was covered with runes. Then, it grabbed the golden cauldron and smashed it forward. Boom! A void appeared in front of it. The terrifying energy was also torn apart. The Golden Lion King took a step forward and instantly arrived 20 meters away. However, this was already his limit. Although he was a prodigy of the war race, he was still young. Moreover, his cultivation was only that of a 6-star king. Therefore, it wasn't easy for him to come here. Looking at the 20-meter distance, the Golden Lion King's eyes flickered. His expression was incomparably gloomy. Normally, he could travel back and forth a few hundred times in an instant. However, he couldn't even move a centimeter forward. On the other side, Lin Xian also coldly shouted and activated the second restriction. Immediately, the pressure of the saint's hand bone became even stronger. He also arrived at the 20-meter distance. Then, he glanced at the Golden Lion King in the distance and took another step forward. 19 meters. What? He could still move forward? At this moment, the Golden Lion King was stunned. The third prince and the surrounding experts were all stunned. Those royal elders were all stunned. They looked at Lin Xian's figure in disbelief. Damn it! How could this be? The Golden Lion King's expression was gloomy. There was a trace of madness in his eyes. Because he didn't dare to believe that he, a prodigy of the war race, couldn't move forward even after using his bloodline power and the treasures of the war race. However, the other party could still move forward. How could this be? How could the other party compare to him? In terms of aptitude, identity, bloodline, talent, and strength, he thought that he could crush the other party. But now, the other party was actually in front of him. He couldn't accept this. The third prince and the others were also stunned. How could the other party still move forward? Even the Golden Lion King stopped. How could the other party move forward? They couldn't accept this. As for those royal elders, their expressions were also ugly. Originally, when the Golden Lion King stopped, they were relieved. It seemed that even the prodigy of the war race couldn't move forward. This made them believe that no one could obtain the treasure. Perhaps they could obtain it the next time they entered. However, Lin Xian's performance exceeded their expectations. The fact that the other party was still able to advance surprised them greatly. Damn it! What exactly is this kid's Dharma treasure? How could he be so strong? No matter how much they guessed, they would never have guessed that Lin Xian actually had the bone of a saint. Even though they did not know what it was, everyone was glaring at Lin Xian right now, especially the Golden Lion King. The killing intent in its eyes transformed into a materialized sharp sword, slashing forward. However, when the killing intent left his body, it was crushed by the overwhelming power of the sky-reaching light pillar. Lin Xian didn't care about them at all. He carefully controlled the saint's hand bone and walked forward. Finally, Lin Xian arrived at the 10-meter mark. Everyone's hearts were raised to their throats. It was too crucial. In the last 10 meters, could the other party hold on? Could he continue? This was extremely important to all of them. Lin Xian also stopped in his tracks, his eyes flickering as he looked to the front. He could still clearly see the ancient sword in front of him. However, the pressure in the last 10 meters was too great. Even if he opened 2 seals now, he might not be able to contend against it. Therefore, Lin Xian decided to open the 3rd seal. At the same time, he sent a voice transmission to the Crimson Dragon and Hey Tuesday. He told them to prepare to seal it. After all, a heaven stage treasure was too terrifying. Just like the saint's hand bone, he still couldn't control it. However, this didn't mean that he couldn't get it into the Black Earth. The equipment inside was complete. As long as he provided energy, he could seal the heaven stage ancient sword. Now that Lin Xian had acquired so many precious treasures, it wasn't difficult for him to activate the Black Earthen and seal it. Don't worry, there's enough energy. Hey Tu replied. Lin Xian nodded and then sent a voice transmission again. Ruzalong, prepare the profound jade platform. After the heaven stage treasure sword is collected, we will immediately teleport away. Don't worry, the profound jade platform is also prepared. There were 3 floating profound jade platforms beside the Crimson Dragon. Lin Xian had no choice but to be careful. After all, this was a heaven stage treasure. Although others might not know about it, just the aura it emitted was enough to shock them. This would definitely cause a huge pursuit. Not to mention others, the Golden Lion King and the 3rd prince behind him would definitely not let this go. He had to leave this place quickly to avoid being surrounded by these people. After explaining everything, Lin Xian opened the 3rd seal and walked forward again. Everyone else held their breaths and stared at Lin Xian's back. They didn't know if Lin Xian would succeed, because they didn't dare to believe it. The pressure of the last 10 meters would increase exponentially. How could the other party resist it? Perhaps even a peerless expert wouldn't be able to resist it. 10 meters, 9 meters, 8 meters, 7 meters. As he got closer and closer, Everyone became more and more nervous. When Lin Xin arrived at the front, everyone was stunned. They didn't dare to believe that a six-star king could reach the center of that kind of power. How did the other party do it? No. Damn it. The Golden Lion King's face was cold. The third prince and the others roared crazily. However, everything was useless. Their voices were mercilessly crushed by the power in front of them. Only Lin Xian's back was left in front of them. Lin Xian was under great pressure. The dragon sword soul appeared on his body and enveloped him. Do it? Hey Tuesday. Lin Xian controlled the saint's handbone, and the dragon sword soul surrounded his body to resist the power in the surroundings. And above him, a black hole appeared. Immediately after, countless runes flew out and turned into rays of divine light in the sky, completely enveloping the heaven stage ancient sword. Buzz, buzz, buzz. The heaven stage ancient sword naturally wasn't willing to be subdued so easily. It launched a crazy counterattack. Boom. In an instant, the entire valley was razed to the ground. Terrifying energy spread in all directions. Not good. Run. When the third prince and the others saw this scene, their faces changed drastically. They couldn't care about anything else and ran out crazily. The Golden Lion King roared. He was unwilling to give up. The rune between his brows flickered incomparably. He circulated the power of his bloodline to the extreme, wanting to resist. But in the end, he still couldn't resist. More cracks appeared on the golden cauldron above his head. It was about to shatter. Damn it! The Golden Lion King roared and could only retreat helplessly. Because if he stayed any longer, he would probably be torn to pieces by this power. Boom! Everyone retreated. The valley in front of them was completely enveloped by countless rays of sword chi, forming a void. In the Grand Imperial Hall, the elders discovered that the light screen in front of them was also chaotic. They couldn't see clearly at all. It seemed that the heavenly treasure was enraged and emitted a terrifying energy. That brat should have been blasted to pieces. Chapter 2151. Inside the Grand Imperial Hall, the elders realized that the light screen in front of them was also in chaos. They couldn't see it clearly at all. From the looks of it, that natural treasure must have been enraged and was emitting a terrifying energy. That kid should have been blasted into pieces. That was natural. This power had already surpassed that of a peerless almighty. No one could contend against it. Perhaps only an invincible king could contend against it. Even a top genius like the Golden Lion King had retreated. What ability did that kid have to stay inside? Everyone discussed and even sneered. In their opinion, Lin Xian should have been killed. Lin Xian had indeed suffered a great impact, so he frantically broke the fourth seal. Suddenly, the pressure of the sage increased. The terrifying pressure shattered heaven and earth. Roar! Lin Xian blocked the violent energy. However, his face was pale and blood flowed out from the corner of his mouth. Fortunately, the great dragon sword soul rushed out and circled around his body. It let out a loud dragon roar and blocked the pressure of the sage. Inside the black earth, countless runes were like a river of stars. In the end, they completely sealed the heaven-ranked ancient sword. Inside the black earth, a black soil floated in the air. In front of it, there was a huge array. On top of the array, there were 9 fist-sized divine crystals. They provided the energy of the entire array. Then, 9 ancient runes floated out and quickly surged forward. They completely enveloped the heaven-ranked ancient sword. This sealing method was the method used to seal the sage's handbone. If it could even seal the sage's handbone, it could be imagined that this priceless sword could also be sealed. Sure enough, the 9 ancient and mysterious runes entered the heaven-ranked ancient sword. Then, the heaven-ranked ancient sword's fierce aura disappeared. The light that filled the sky and the terrifying aura also quickly retreated. Lin Xian took a step forward, waved his arm, and pulled out the heaven-ranked ancient sword. Clang! The ancient sword broke out of the ground. Lin Xian was stunned. Broken sword? That's right, it was a broken sword. It was only about 2/3 of a normal longsword. It seemed that the tip of the sword was broken. Lin Xian was extremely shocked, but there was no time to think. The terrifying power was disappearing, and he had to leave quickly. In the next moment, he threw the heaven-ranked ancient sword into the black earth and took the 3 profound jade platforms from Ruzalong. Wong. He infused his spiritual energy into one of the profound jade platforms, which emitted a bright light. Then, a spatial array appeared under his feet. Then, a spatial door appeared. Outside, the Golden Lion King and the 3rd prince kept staring ahead. However, at this moment, they were shocked. This was because the berserk aura in front of them was receding like the tide, and the light that filled the sky had also disappeared. Then, he disappeared. Damn it, what happened? What about that energy? Could it be that the kid had subdued a rare treasure of heaven and earth? The 3rd prince exclaimed. The Golden Lion King's expression was malevolent as he roared. Damn it, leave the treasure behind. Then, a huge golden palm covered the sky and pounced forward. Humph! The 3rd prince also snorted coldly and activated the flood dragon scissors. 2 huge flood dragons spiraled and turned into a 1,000-feet-long flood dragon phantom that rushed out. The 9 trapping arrays outside were broken, and Taoist Long and the Lord of the Underworld were able to escape. They soared into the sky and also looked forward. The eyes of the royal elders flickered as they stared at the light screen. Damn it, could it be that the kid had succeeded? Impossible. How could he have succeeded? What kind of heaven-grade treasure did he use to seal it? That's right, that level of treasure was not something that he could withstand. Even if he could get close, he would not be able to use it. Everyone discussed, not believing that the other party could succeed. But what was the situation now? When did the treasure's aura disappear? This meant that the other party had subdued a rare treasure of heaven and earth. Although they did not want to believe it, they had to accept this fact. So, in the next moment, they looked at the light screen again. In the sky, the huge palm that covered the sky slammed down, and 2 flood dragon phantoms quickly moved through the void. However, Lin Xian was 1 step ahead of them. He had left through the profound jade platform's teleportation. Boom, boom. The valley was torn apart by the terrifying energy, but no one was left behind. This made the faces of the 3rd prince and the others gloomy. The Golden Lion King roared at the sky. He let out a terrifying roar, and divine lightning fell from the sky. The treasure is mine, and no one can take it away. His figure flickered, and he appeared in front of them. Then, his eyes were like lightning. The power of space, that kid had teleported away. You can't run away. I will kill you even if you are at the end of the world. I will take the treasure back. The Golden Lion King waved his hand, and a space scroll appeared. Then, it wrapped around him and shattered the void, and he disappeared. Go. The 3rd prince also shouted coldly. He also took out a space scroll and quickly teleported away. The world quieted down, and countless rays of light disappeared. Only the shattered valley and the cracked ground were left. Now, only Taoist Long and the Lord of the Underworld were left. The Lord of the Underworld's face was gloomy. Damn, both of us ran away. What should we do? Go back the way we came? No, let's go back too. Since they have all left, there is no need for us to stay. I have to report to the 8th prince. Lin Xian had snatched the rare treasure, and he would probably become the target of everyone's attacks. As he said that, he also took out a token. This is a teleportation token. It can allow us to return to the 8th prince's side, but there is only one chance, Taoist Long said in a deep voice. Then, he crushed the teleportation token, and the power of space wrapped around the 2 of them, and they disappeared. Boom. Outside the dark canyon, 30,000 miles to the west, the void cracked. Then, Lin Xian's figure appeared. As soon as Lin Xian appeared, he circulated his spiritual energy to eliminate the dizziness caused by the space. Then, he looked around. Fortunately, it seemed that he had come out of the dark canyon. This way, he would be much safer. After all, it was very dangerous to be alone in the Hengyang Canyon. Soon, he frowned and looked at the sky. Then, his figure flickered, and he flew into the distance. That was because he felt an extremely unstable power of space coming from the sky. Someone should be teleporting over. Boom. As expected, Not long after Lin Xian left, the sky in the distance shattered, and the figure of a golden god of war appeared. The Golden Lion King had come out. As soon as he came out, he roared, and the surrounding mountains below exploded. Then, the golden aura on his body formed a lion that sensed the surroundings. As for the Golden Lion King, he suddenly opened his eyes. Remnant power, you really appeared here. You can't escape. As he said that, the Golden Lion King turned into a golden lightning and chased after him. Not long after the Golden Lion King left, the third prince and the others also shattered the void and appeared in the sky. Then, their faces turned gloomy. Damn it, he disappeared. We can't catch up. The third prince frowned. The powerful figures around him said, "Why don't we spread the news?" Chapter 2152. Then, we'll secretly gather our people and form a team. That way, we'll let others help us find that kid's whereabouts. After we find him, we'll attack and snatch him. All right, let's do that. The third prince nodded. Then, they began to move. Firstly, they gathered everyone and returned to the third prince's side. Secondly, these mighty figures quickly spread the news. On the other side, the eighth prince and the others were waiting patiently outside the dark canyon. However, they were a little anxious because it was almost the appointed time, but the other party had yet to appear. Buzz. At that moment, a jade pendant on the eighth prince's waist floated up and released a mysterious talisman. The eighth prince opened his eyes and frowned. Is that a teleportation token? Could it be that they've encountered some danger and had no choice but to use the teleportation token? At the next moment, he said in a deep voice, "Everyone, prepare to receive them. Our people are coming out." The surrounding mighty figures also opened their eyes and stood up. Their auras surged as they prepared to receive them at any time. Boom. Crack. Soon, the void on their left cracked open and two figures appeared. As soon as the two figures appeared, two mighty figures walked up and protected them. At the same time, the other two mighty figures rushed out and stared at the void. Fortunately, no danger rushed out. Then, the Lord of the Underworld and Taoist Master Long regained their composure. However, everyone's expression was not good, especially the eighth prince, who frowned. Where's Lin Xian? Why hasn't Lin Xian come out? Could it be that he's in danger? The others also looked over. Taoist Master Long said in a deep voice, "He's indeed in danger, but it's not what you think." Soon, Taoist Master Long gave a rough account of what had happened inside. Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air after hearing this. They were envious. On the other hand, the eighth prince frowned. "You're saying that Lin Xian has obtained a rare treasure and left? The Golden Lion King, the third prince, and the others are chasing after him?" "That's indeed the case." Taoist Master Long sighed. No one would not be jealous of a rare treasure. Lin Xian had obtained it and had to bear the consequences of being hunted down. However, it's up to you now, eighth prince. Do you want the treasure, or do you want Lin Xian to help you become the crown prince? Crown prince, of course, the eighth prince said in a deep voice. Then, with a serious expression, he gave the order. Just like that, all news of Lin Xian would be sealed. No one was allowed to leak any information about him. Find out where Lin Xian is and get in touch contact with him. We'll become enemies with the other princes. At that moment, a mighty figure, the eighth prince. After the eighth prince heard this, he sneered. Becoming enemies with the other princes? The crown prince, the overworld, overlook the overlook, over. The sovereign overs SSSS speak. The eighth prince said, "Everyone is our enemy in the crown prince competition. Our stance remains unchanged. We'll support Lin Xian. Let's go. Let's go. I suspect that the third prince will do something. We have to meet up with Lin Xian quickly. Let's send out a warning. Hunting down Lin Xian means becoming our enemy." Everyone took a deep breath after hearing this. It seems like the eighth prince is going to protect Lin Xian with all his strength. That's right, Lin Xian is too important to the eighth prince, whether it's in the first round or in the second round. Lin Xian has provided great help for the eighth prince to become the crown prince. Now, it's reasonable for the eighth prince to protect Lin Xian. This also made everyone feel a lot more at ease, because this matter showed that the eighth prince was not a person who coveted treasures, but a prince who was worthy of trust. Soon, the eighth prince's side started to move. The elders in the grand imperial hall looked at the screen with complicated expressions. The eighth prince has chosen to support Lin Xian. The third prince had started to spread the news and contact the other princes. The first prince had also started to move. I have to say, the first prince's intelligence network is really developed. He got the news so quickly. I wonder what will happen in the end. I think it will be more intense than the usual crown prince competition. After all, the overworld treasure has lit a fire in the crown prince competition. The elders were discussing. Sure enough, under the third prince's great efforts, the news spread quickly. When the other princes, elites, and young geniuses found out that Lin Xian had obtained an earth-shattering overworld treasure, they were all shocked. What? An overworld treasure? An overworld treasure that surpasses the earth rank, or even a peak earth rank treasure, would break in front of him. Rumor has it that it might be a heavenly rank treasure. Did such a thing really appear? And it was obtained by a junior? The eyes of the older generation's almighties turned red, as if they were injected with chicken blood. The eyes of the other princes were even more fiery. If the description was true, then it was definitely a heaven-defying treasure. After obtaining it, their strength would undergo a tremendous change. Therefore, they started to move. Hurry up and find that Lin Xian. We can't let him go. We must get the treasure. If we can't, kill him. Hurry up, let's get the treasure first. One order after another was passed down. The princes, elite almighties, and peerless geniuses were all on the move, searching for Lin Xian all over the world. When the third prince saw this, his lips curled up into a cold smile. Despicable brat. How dare you snatch the treasure in front of Bin Huang? Let's see how you die now. On the other side, the first prince's side was moving quickly. I heard that the Golden Lion King is already chasing that brat. That brat won't be able to escape. Let's go too. That Lin Xian is a genius of the eighth prince. If Tian can kill him, the eighth prince will definitely go crazy. Let's see how he can compete with me for the crown prince position. The first prince sneered. When the eighth prince heard the news, his face darkened. Damn it, the news actually spread out so quickly. Someone must be adding fuel to the fire. Needless to say, it must be the third prince. The Golden Lion King doesn't need to do that. The Lord of the Underworld snorted. It's better to hurry up and find Lin Xian. It's dangerous for him to be surrounded by others. On the eighth prince's side, he led his men to move quickly. On the other side, Lin Xian and the Golden Lion King started their pursuit. However, Lin Xian still had the profound jade platform. Therefore, he teleported again, causing the Golden Lion King to lose its target. Damn brat, don't let me catch you. Otherwise, I'll tear you into pieces. The Golden Lion King was furious. His voice shattered another dozen or so mountain peaks in the surroundings. However, a few figures soared into the sky from one of the mountains. Damn it! Who is it? Who dares to disturb me while I'm snatching the treasure? Chapter 2153. From one of the mountain peaks, a few silhouettes soared into the sky. Damn it! Who is it? How dare you disturb me when I'm trying to snatch the treasure? There were 3 silhouettes, 2 men and 1 woman. All of them were middle-aged, and their faces were extremely cold. They were the subordinates of the 12th prince. Originally, they found a spiritual herb in the valley below and were about to snatch it. However, they did not expect that the surrounding mountain peaks would explode, and even the spiritual herb would be blown to pieces. This made them extremely angry. Therefore, they soared into the sky, wanting to see who dared to provoke them. However, when they saw the figure, their faces turned green. Damn it, it's actually the Golden Lion King. Not good, Run. They had heard of how terrifying the Golden Lion King was. They probably would not be able to defeat it. Therefore, they could only turn around and run. Humph! The Golden Lion King coldly snorted. He waved his hand, and suddenly, 3 sharp rays of light shot out, turning into divine spears that reached the heavens and chased after them. Puff, puff, puff. 3 golden divine spears pierced through the void, and then pierced through the bodies of the three kings, nailing them to the sky. Then, the golden divine spears exploded, and the bodies of the three kings also exploded, turning into a bloody mist. The golden lion king turned around, tore through the void, and left this place. On the other side, Lin Xian also slowed down. He spread out his soul power to check the surroundings. He found that the golden lion king was no longer around. It seemed that he had gotten rid of the other party. This made him sigh in relief. Next, he descended and took out a few pills to consume to recover his inner strength. At the same time, he quickly thought about what to do next. There's someone there. That kid? Isn't that Lin Xian? It's really him. In the distant sky, three silhouettes flew over quickly. They were an old man and two young men. They looked down at Lin Xian with ecstasy. Haha, it's that kid. The heavens are helping me. The old man also laughed sinisterly. Kid, hand over the treasure in your hands, and I can spare your life. Otherwise, don't blame me for being impolite. At the end of his words, the old man emitted a terrifying aura that shattered the surrounding heaven and earth. You guys know? Hearing this, Lin Xian frowned. How did they know? Kid, don't hide it. Who doesn't know that you have a treasure in your hands? One of the young men also sneered. However, you're not fated to obtain a rare treasure. There are too many people here who are stronger than you. Those princes, elites, and seniors. Which one of them isn't an expert? What ability do you have that you want to monopolize this rare treasure of heaven and earth? Hand it over obediently, and I can spare your life. Otherwise, it will be the day of your death. Cold shouts could be heard. Lin Xian's face darkened when he heard that. It seemed that the news had already spread, and the speed at which it spread was even faster than he had imagined. But why did it turn out like this? He had just come out, so logically speaking, these people should not have known. Lin Xian's face darkened. And King to S and to T and it. Maybe it's the third prince's doing in the dark. Thinking of this, Lin Xian's eyes flashed with killing intent. How dare he spread the news and get everyone to attack him? This third prince really deserves to die. It seemed like he was in big trouble. Everyone was looking for him. What was the eighth prince's attitude? Lin Xian shook his head. He couldn't put all his hopes on the eighth prince. He had to think of a way himself. The three people above saw Lin Xian's eyes flickering, but they ignored him. They were furious. How dare he ignore them? Unforgivable. Since you want to die, I'll fulfill your wish. One of the young men snorted and slashed down with the green sword in his hand. The sword chi was like a rainbow. It turned into a 1,000-meter-long sword light and enveloped Lin Xian. Lin Xian came back to his senses. He snorted and punched out. The black fist instantly shattered the 1,000-meter-long sword chi. Then, he said coldly, "Get lost. Don't kill more people than me. Kid, I admit that you're strong. You're almost invincible among the younger generation. However, we're not fighting one-on-one. If we work together, we might be able to defeat you." The young man laughed coldly. "Moreover, we have Senior Huang Feng with us. Do you think you can escape?" The young man sneered. He was very arrogant. Indeed, in his opinion, it shouldn't be difficult for such a team to crush Lin Xian. "You're courting death." Lin Xian snorted. Since the other party wanted to die, he wouldn't be lenient. In the sky, the two young men smiled. "Senior Huang Feng, please help us. We'll go down and capture this kid." The old man nodded. He stood with his hands behind his back. His expression was very cold. He was an elite almighty while the other party was only a 6-star king. In his opinion, although this person was a peerless genius, he wouldn't be able to withstand one of his attacks. "Kid, kneel down and accept your death." The two young men stepped forward. One of them held a long sword while the other held a battle saber. Their auras were like thunder, and their black hair danced wildly. "Kill." The two of them turned into lightning and rushed down quickly. In an instant, they arrived beside Lin Xian and slashed mercilessly with their swords and sabers. Buzz buzz. However, Lin Xian stretched out his palms and grabbed in front of him. In the next moment, he grabbed the two young men's weapons. You want to fight us barehanded? You're courting death. The two young men sneered. Lin Xian was too arrogant. Chapter 2154. His move was extremely arrogant. It was as if he was pinching an ant instead of Lin Xian. Humph! Lin Xian sneered and drew his demonic sword. His body turned into a sharp sword light and slashed out. Buzz! What a powerful sword chi! The elite powerhouse's expression changed. Damn it! How could he be so powerful? The sword chi was too sharp. It made him feel as if he was on the verge of death. He wanted to stop the next moment, but it was too late. The sword light flashed and instantly pierced through his hand. Blood flowed wildly as his bones shattered. The elite powerhouse screamed. However, what shocked him even more was yet to come. The sword light did not weaken. Instead, it became stronger and stronger. Then, it suddenly exploded. Boom! The terrifying sword chi instantly swallowed his entire right arm. Then, his right arm left his body and flew into the sky. The powerhouse turned around and ran. Life was better than any treasure. You want to run? Lin Xian sneered. The sword in his hand exploded again, and streaks of chaotic sword chi quickly shot out. The powerhouse did not dare to take it head-on. He quickly threw out two shields. At the same time, a blue pagoda appeared above his head and enveloped his body. He could only passively defend. He only wanted to escape as soon as possible. Boom, boom, boom. However, Lin Xian's chaotic sword chi was a heaven-grade cultivation technique. It was extremely terrifying. In an instant, the backs of the two shields were cut open, and the blue pagoda above his head was sent flying. All of the elder's defensive methods were broken. Seeing this scene, the elder's scalp went numb. He was scared out of his wits. He had never seen such a technique before. He knew that he had been careless this time. He had kicked an iron plate. The young man in front of him could not be measured by common sense. He was definitely a terrifying figure. Boom! At this moment, countless blood-colored sword runes appeared under Lin Xian's feet. Then, a black primordial shadow rushed out and turned into a huge black crocodile. Roar! The black crocodile charged forward with its bloody mouth open. In an instant, it swallowed the powerhouse. Boom! Boom! Dazzling light swept through heaven and earth. This breath could swallow mountains and rivers. Nothing could stop it. Sure enough, that supreme being screamed miserably. His body was cut in half and fell from the sky. Lin Xian waved his hand and took the man's storage ring. Then, he shot out a black hellfire and burned the corpse. After doing all this, he snorted coldly and turned around to leave. However, the battle was not over yet. In the next half a day, Lin Xian encountered two more attacks. Lin Xian didn't show any mercy either. Anyone who dared to attack him was mercilessly killed by him. When the other princes learned of this situation, their faces turned gloomy. That was because these geniuses and almighties were the elites under their command. Yet, they had all been killed. How could they tolerate this? For a moment, the princes quickly joined hands and prepared to capture the other party. This was because they had also discovered that the other party was simply too powerful. Even though he was alone, he still had such combat strength. The 6th prince, the 7th prince, the 10th prince, and the 12th prince joined forces. The almighties and geniuses under their command also joined forces and formed powerful teams to surround and kill the other party. Among them, when a 3-man team found Lin Xian was cultivating. He was recovering his lost stamina, but when he saw another group of people coming, he suddenly opened his eyes. There was a monstrous light in his eyes. Oomph! With a cold snort, Lin Xian decisively made his move. His black fist was like a mountain that shot into the sky. It instantly blew up a young prodigy. Boom! Blood splattered everywhere, and the void shattered. The remaining 2 people felt their scalps go numb when they saw this scene. They fled in 2 different directions. Their eyes were filled with fear. At the same time, they roared into the sky and let out sharp booms. Come over! That kid is here! They had used all their power to create sound waves, so everyone within a 10,000-mile radius could hear them. It even spread further. Boom! Boom! Boom. In an instant, a few terrifying auras lit up in the distance. They turned into streams of light and quickly charged over. Another three-man team flew over quickly. Obviously, they were the closest to this place. These 3 people joined up with the previous 2. There were a total of 5 people, 2 almighties and 3 young geniuses. They were like killing gods as they stared at Lin Xian. Kid, you're very arrogant. How dare you kill our people? Today is the day you die. Kneel down obediently and accept your death, and we'll let you live. Otherwise, you'll die a horrible death. The few of them stared at Lin Xian coldly like wild beasts, because the 5 of them were confident that they could destroy everything when they joined forces. No matter how strong the other party was, it was impossible for him to fight against them. You want to take me down with just the 5 of you? Lin Xian sneered. Since you want to die, I'll fulfill your wish. As he said that, he took a step forward, and the entire world trembled. Seeing that the other party still dared to attack, the 5 of them were furious. They quickly attacked at the same time. Streams of light pierced through the void and blasted the nearby mountain peaks. Whoosh! Lin Xian used the Heavenly Dragon's 8 steps. His speed was extremely fast, and he dodged in an instant. At the same time, he took out a few formations from the Black Earth and quickly set them up. These formations were all created by the Crimson Dragon. The materials used were the treasures that Lin Xian had obtained over the past few days. The other Almighties had also borrowed the materials inside. They were very powerful. Even if an Almighty was trapped, it would probably take some effort. At this moment, Lin Xian set up 2 formations and immediately separated the 5 of them. Among them, a red-clothed Almighty and a young woman were trapped together, while the other Almighty was trapped alone. The remaining middle-aged man and a young man were still in the air. However, their expressions immediately became extremely ugly. Damn it! How could the other party have such a powerful formation? They realized that the 2 Almighties were unable to rush out for a while, which shocked them. In the next moment, they felt Lin Xian's terrifying gaze and trembled. They were no match for Lin Xian at all. The reason why they dared to attack was because the 5 of them together formed a terrifying chain attack. But now, the 2 of them were not enough. After all, they knew that Lin Xian had already killed many almighties and geniuses. You want to kill me? Snatch the treasures? With just you? Lin Xian sneered and attacked decisively. Brother Lin, this is a misunderstanding. Listen to me. The middle-aged man hurriedly explained. However, it was useless. Lin Xian did not give them any chance. He had already made up his mind to kill anyone who dared to come and kill him. He would not let anyone go. Boom! Lin Xian attacked decisively. The chaotic sword chi slashed out and instantly sent the middle-aged man flying. As for the young king, he was also split apart by the sword. It was too terrifying. Under Lin Xian's terrifying killing intent, the chaotic Heaven Destroyer sword finally displayed the strength of a heaven-grade cultivation technique. Chapter 2155. In just one exchange, a young genius was killed. The middle-aged man spat out a mouthful of blood as cracks appeared on his armor. Then, it shattered into pieces and exploded. Instantly, the middle-aged man gasped. The armor had saved his life previously, but now, he was afraid that he would not be able to block the second attack. Damn it! Go to hell! The middle-aged man roared. He knew that it was impossible for him to escape. He could only fight with his life on the line to have a chance of survival. He knew that no matter how powerful the array was, it would not be able to trap the 2 mighty figures for too long. He only needed to wait for the 2 mighty figures to come out and he would be safe. So in the next moment, he pulled out a red spear and rushed over. Boom! Boom! As the spear pierced out, the entire void was pierced through. A terrifying energy storm swept out towards Lin Xian. Slash! Lin Xian swung his sword. Chaotic sword chi fell and shattered all 300 rays of light. At the same time, he threw out a punch. The terrifying fist turned into a black dragon and rushed out. The black dragon was formed by hellfire. It carried a terrifying flame aura and instantly swallowed the middle-aged man. The middle-aged man roared crazily. His body began to burn with black flames. He wanted to extinguish the flames like crazy, but he could not do so. Whoosh! 3 seconds later, he was burned to ashes. The entire process seemed slow, but it only took 5 seconds. The two mighty figures who were attacking the array saw this scene and felt a chill in their hearts. Buzz! Lin Xian waved his hand, and the array around one of the trapped mighty figures disappeared. However, the array was controlled by him and placed on another mighty figure and a young woman. Damn it! The two of them saw this scene and their faces darkened. The reason for that was because they'd already caused cracks to appear in the surrounding spirit formations. Yet now, another spirit formation had been added. This made it extremely difficult for them to escape. Next, it's you. Lin Xian smirked as he looked at the elite mighty figure that he had just released. Courting death. Kid, you're too arrogant. Seeing that the other party was going to attack him, the elite mighty figure was furious. Boom. In the next moment, the Almighty opened his mouth and spat out a blue giant hammer. It was surrounded by terrifying lightning. Then, the hammer descended. The heavens fell, and the earth cracked. The terrifying power of thunder and lightning instantly smashed towards Lin Xian. Boom! Lin Xian slashed out with his sword, and a 1,000-meter-long sword chi transformed into an ancient phantom. Its huge body slammed into the blue hammer with a heaven-shaking boom. Boom! In the end, the blue hammer's terrifying sword chi phantom directly unfolded. Terrifying sword waves spread out in all directions like ocean waves. The surrounding dozens of mountains were flattened in an instant. Damn it, why is his sword chi so powerful? That elite expert's expression changed. Although he knew that the other party was very strong, he found that the other party's strength was a little surprising after the real fight. Wong. Thinking of this, he snorted coldly and summoned his king's domain, which circled around him. At the same time, he pulled out a treasured sword. Vermilion bird sword of the North Pole. He slashed out with his sword, and a monstrous sword light transformed into a gigantic vermilion bird, which rapidly swooped down. You want to compete with me in swordsmanship? You're really courting death. Demon-slaying sword array, break for me. The blood-red sword array quickly surged out, and then the ancient phantom appeared in the sky, fighting with the vermilion bird. In less than 3 moves, the vermilion bird was torn apart, turning into countless flames that scattered in all directions. The surrounding forest was set ablaze. As for the ancient silhouette, it let out a roar and charged over. Damn it! Vermilion bird 3 techniques. That elite expert's pupils constricted, and he once again unleashed his terrifying sword technique, using 3 ultimate moves. Fire God Roar. Lin Xian didn't want to tangle with him at all, and he directly launched a powerful attack. Hellfire spread, and the fire god sword slashed down wildly. With one slash, the world was killed. The elder was wrapped in hellfire, and his body was cut in half by the sword. Next, it's your turn. Lin Xian's body was full of killing intent, and he was like a god of death. He turned his gaze and looked at the last 2 people. With a wave of his hand, he retrieved the 2 arrays. One of them had been destroyed, but the second array could still be used. He recalled it to the Black Earth and let the Crimson Dragon repair it with materials so that it could be used again in the future. After the 2 kings lost the array, they turned and fled. Although one of them was an elite expert and the other was a young genius, they didn't dare to face Lin Xian at all. Buzz, buzz, buzz. The 2 of them fled crazily, especially the young woman, who spat out 3 mouthfuls of blood essence. A bloody mist enveloped her body, and then she turned into a blood-red bolt of lightning, instantly streaking across the void. The elder also roared, and 2 wind wings appeared on his back. With a flap of his wings, he turned into a tornado and fled quickly. Facing Lin Xian, the 2 of them didn't dare to fight. Instead, they turned and fled. You want to leave? Lin Xian used the demigods and semi-devils and quickly chased after them. At the same time, his long sword slashed through the air. 5 bolts of lightning struck. Boom, boom, boom. Countless bolts of lightning struck the void and chased after the 2 in front. The 2 of them felt their scalps go numb. They raised their hands and attacked one after another to block the power of lightning. However, they didn't dare to take it head-on. The 5 bolts of lightning still affected them to a certain extent. At this moment, Lin Xian raised his hand again and struck out with his palm. 10,000 miles ice seal. The icy aura quickly spread, and the surrounding space quickly froze, forming a world of ice and frost. The 2 warriors in front were also affected by the icy aura. Their speed slowed down, and frost even formed on their bodies as if they were about to freeze. Damn it! Their expressions changed. The icy aura on their bodies became thicker and thicker, making it impossible for them to escape. Boom! However, at this critical moment, 3 violent energy fluctuations suddenly came from afar. Then, 3 rainbows quickly rushed over. Great! The reinforcements are here. Seeing this scene, the 2 of them exclaimed in surprise. They were too happy. They didn't expect that reinforcements would come at the moment of certain death. To them, this was simply the best news as far as they were concerned. Therefore, in the next moment, the 2 of them turned to look at Lin Xian with a ferocious expression. Brat, so what if you're strong? Do you think you can fight against the 5 of us? We already know that you have an array. As long as you dodge carefully this time, you won't be trapped by the array. Buzz. However, Lin Xian didn't say anything. Instead, golden runes flashed in his eyes. Floating light. Lin Xian immediately activated his heavenly secret god eyes. Anyway, the 2 of them wouldn't reveal his secret. Buzz. Indeed, in the next moment, the 2 of them were hit by the soul attack, and their eyes became dull. The spiritual aura on their bodies also weakened in an instant. Obviously, the 2 of them were hit by the soul attack and couldn't fight back. They didn't even have the ability to protect themselves. La la la, time to get up and vote. Recommend, monthly vote, subscribe, bookmark, tip. Give them all to me. Chapter 2156. Frost Spike. Lin Xian formed a seal with his palm and used the power of frost. Immediately, the blood in their bodies froze and turned into sharp arrows that shot out quickly. Bang, bang, bang. Their bodies were pierced, and their internal organs were completely shattered. They fell from the sky. What? They were killed. Seeing this scene, the 3 people who were watching from afar were also stunned. They stopped abruptly, their faces filled with terror. What was going on? In just 2 seconds, the other party was killed? What kind of technique was that? That was an elite almighty and a young heaven's chosen. Run. The 3 people in the distance did not dare to continue fighting and turned to flee. Boom. They came quickly and fled even faster. Lin Xian did not chase after them. This time, the golden runes in his eyes shone brighter and brighter. They could pierce through the void. Then, ice spread on his right hand and formed an ice longbow. He pulled the bowstring with his left hand, and an ice arrow quickly appeared. In the next moment, the corners of his mouth curled into a sneer. That was because he had already locked onto a target through the heavenly secret divine eyes. The power of the great dragon sword soul was injected into the ice sword, and it was extremely sharp. Whoosh! In the next moment, the ice arrow flew out from Lin Xian's hand and tore through the void like a silver lightning bolt. The 3 people in front of him fled quickly. However, at that moment, the body of a young man was suddenly pierced through by an ice arrow. Then, the power of frost and the sword chi of the great dragon sword soul quickly spread and blasted him into a bloody mist. He turned into countless ice cubes and scattered on the ground. What? He was killed. The 2 martial artists next to him were about to go crazy when they saw this scene. How far was the distance between them? How could the other party have been killed? How did that kid do it? In the next moment, they turned their heads and found that the other party was not chasing after them. That made them even more shocked. Damn it, it was the Bao. An old man's face was extremely ugly. What? The Bao? How could he have such a terrifying penetrative power? God knows how he did it, but they had to quickly put up their strongest defense. The 2 of them did not dare to be careless and quickly put up their defenses. However, as soon as they put up their defenses, another ice arrow flew quickly toward them. Clang! The old man was sent flying. Fortunately, he was already wearing a suit of armor. However, the huge force still sent him flying. The void shattered, and the mountains collapsed. Countless pieces of ice formed on his body, and even the armor on his body began to crack. This arrow contained the power of the great dragon sword soul and was extremely sharp. Puff. The old man spat out large mouthfuls of blood. He was seriously injured. The armor on his body was also about to be scrapped because it was covered with cracks. Wong. At this moment, the second arrow came, which made his scalp tingle. Pong. The old man wanted to escape, but this arrow was extremely accurate. It hit the exact same spot as the previous arrow. Therefore, the armor that was already cracked shattered with a loud bang. His body was pierced through by a sword and nailed to the ground. Before the blood could flow out, it was frozen. The remaining mighty being swallowed his saliva. This method was heaven-defying. This was too terrifying, and he didn't dare to continue fighting. He immediately unleashed 3 layers of defense and unleashed his king's domain, as well as a large bell. With 5 layers of defense on his body, he quickly escaped. Moreover, his speed had reached its fastest speed. He even burned the spiritual power in his body to escape. Along the way, he also encountered other King Realm mighty beings. Those people were puzzled when they saw this scene. What was going on? Was someone chasing after him? Or had he encountered a terrifying demon king? Boom. In the next moment, the King Realm mighty beings along the way were stunned because they saw a blue arrow flying over from the distant horizon. It directly collided with the mighty being's body and exploded. Pong. The mighty being was sent flying and spat out large mouthfuls of blood. 2 layers of defense on his body were instantly broken. Damn it. He took out a handful of pills and swallowed them. Then, he absorbed the spiritual power around him and escaped at an even faster speed. Seeing this scene, the surrounding people sucked in a breath of cold air. Just who was this person? Wasn't that too terrifying? They looked around and even used their soul power, but they did not find anyone. However, where did that arrow come from? From an extremely far place? But how did he do that? They did not dare to imagine. That was because they had to hide their auras. Ordinary mighty beings would not be able to detect them. However, the other party had accurately hit them. Boom, boom, boom. However, just as they were feeling puzzled, countless streams of light appeared in the distance. Then, they turned into ice arrows and quickly pierced toward them. What? Those people's faces immediately turned green. Damn, why are we being attacked too? In the next moment, those people started to defend themselves. However, a few of them who were too slow were directly pierced by the arrows and nailed to the ground. Seeing that scene, everyone went crazy. They ran for their lives, cursing at the same time. Who dares to attack us? Damn it, we didn't do anything. Why are they attacking us? Those people were really crazy. The mighty being who was running in front shouted in a low voice, "Hurry up and run. The one who attacked us is Lin Xian." What? Are you talking about that Lin Xian who obtained the rare treasure? These people were extremely shocked and sucked in a breath of cold air. At the same time, they also knew why the other party attacked them. That was because they were also chasing after the other party. They did not expect that they would be hunted down by the other party before they could even see his face. Boom, boom, boom. The ice arrows that filled the sky were even more terrifying. In the end, there were not only ice arrows, but also flame arrows, lightning arrows, and wind arrows. All kinds of terrifying arrow rain swept over like a wave. There were so many of them that they had nowhere to go. They were like stray dogs that had lost their homes as they quickly fled. During that period, those who were weaker were directly pierced by countless arrows. There was no way for them to survive. The mighty beings roared crazily. Damn it! How is that possible? How can he be so powerful? I don't believe it. We're already 50,000 miles away. How can he lock onto us? His soul power can't be that powerful. Damn brat, don't let us catch you, or we'll tear you into pieces. Could it be because of that rare treasure? When someone asked that question, the others came to a realization. Yes, it must be the rare treasure. Although they did not know what the rare treasure was, it was definitely the effect of the rare treasure. Otherwise, how could a 6-star king be so powerful? Let's go. Let's go back and inform the prince to send more people. We'll join forces to kill him. Those people had all gone crazy. They were full of desire for the rare treasure. That was because if a 6-star king could become so powerful, they would be heaven-defying if they could obtain it. Chapter 2157. At that time, he might even be able to kill a peerless almighty. Thinking of this, they sped up and ran away crazily. And this news swept across like a gust of wind. In an instant, all the princes and almighties knew about it. They were silent because from the description, Lin Xian was too heaven-defying. Even ordinary elite almighties were no match for him. Only special elite almighties, or pinnacle almighties, could stand a chance against them. The 8th prince also received the news. When they knew that Lin Xian was not in danger for the time being, they heaved a sigh of relief. However, when they heard about Lin Xian's heaven-defying battle record, their scalps went numb. It was too terrifying. On the other side, the Golden Lion King let out a furious roar, shattering mountains and rivers as it charged towards Lin Xian. As for the 3rd prince and the 1st prince, they gathered all their forces and prepared to attack. Dark Night King, it's up to you. The 3rd prince looked at an old man in a black robe and said in a deep voice, "Don't worry, 3rd prince, I'll bring that kid's head to you." The old man in a black robe merged into the void and disappeared. On the other side, the 1st prince looked at the young man and woman in front of him and said in a deep voice, "The two of you, make your move. Remember, you must bring back the heavenly treasure." It's been a long time since I met such an interesting young man. I heard that he also has ice and fire attributes, but I don't know how he compares to us 2 siblings. The young man and woman sneered. Although they looked like they were in their 20s or 30s, their real age was more than 1,000 years old. They were not young geniuses, but 2 elite almighties. Moreover, they were the most terrifying elite almighties because they had the power of bloodline. After receiving the order, the 2 of them moved and left quickly. On the other side, Lin Xian chased away a group of pursuers. Then, he found a mountain range and set up a few formations. He was ready to go into seclusion. This was because he was going to use the dark crocodile's demonic blood to temper his body. At the same time, he was going to use some of the pills he got from the Dark Canyon. In short, he wanted to improve himself in all aspects. He knew that the upcoming battle would be even more intense and terrifying. Taking out a red pill, Lin Xian swallowed it in one gulp and began to refine it. At the same time, he directly entered the Black Earth. Inside, there was a crimson array set up by the Crimson Dragon specifically for Lin Xian to refine demon blood. Lin Xian sat down cross-legged and took out some demon blood to refine his body. Needless to say, as an ancient demonic beast, the dark crocodile's blood contained a terrifying amount of energy. After Lin Xian used it, the muscles on his body instantly turned red, as if they were being burned by endless flames. He knew that this was the power of that powerful bloodline. Lin Xian was extremely shocked. One could imagine how terrifying the dark crocodile was. Fortunately, he had only encountered a young crocodile. If he had encountered an adult crocodile, perhaps even a peerless powerhouse would not have been able to defeat it. In fact, it was still unknown whether an invincible king could be subdued. Everything was progressing quickly. 2 days later, the peace was broken. An earth-shattering sound came from outside, accompanied by a terrifying energy vibration. In the Black Earth, Lin Xian opened his eyes and asked, "Black Earth, what's going on?" "Someone is here. Kid, do you want to make a move?" Just then, Lin Xian stood up. He had just consumed some pills and refined some demon blood. It was a good time to test its power. With that, Lin Xian took a step forward and left the Black Earth. Outside, more than 10 mountains were still cracked, and the ground was even more cracked. It seemed that they had suffered a fierce attack. Su Chun raised his head and looked into the distance. There stood an old man. The old man's face was pale, but his eyes were extremely sharp. On his black robe, there were star-like spots of light. "You're Lin Xian?" The old man looked ahead and asked coldly. "That's right, I am. Who are you? Tell me your name. I won't kill nameless people." "Kid, you're really arrogant." The old man snorted coldly. Listen carefully. I'm the Dark Knight King. I'm the top expert that the third prince invited. The treasure originally belonged to the third prince. Now, hand it over obediently. The third prince again? Lin Xian frowned. Why? He doesn't dare to come himself, so he sent his underlings? But he really doesn't learn his lesson. Only you? Is he sending you to your death? I advise you to hurry up and go back. Call a few more people. Otherwise, you're no match for me alone. Kid, you're really arrogant. Hearing that, the Dark Knight King's face darkened, and a sharp light appeared in his eyes. You'll pay for your ignorance soon. The Dark Knight King snorted coldly, then rushed up from his body. A black light screen instantly covered 1,000 miles. Boom, boom, boom. The sky darkened in an instant. Originally, it was still daytime, but now, it was incomparably dark. One couldn't even see their own fingers. The Dark Knight King's figure also disappeared. Only a voice could be heard. Humph, you've entered my Dark Knight realm. Prepare to die. Dark Knight realm? Lin Xian frowned. What a strange king's realm. No wonder the old man dared to come alone. The Dark Knight King's realm was very special. This was also the reason why the third prince had sent him. Once this realm appeared, the sky darkened, and nothing could be seen. Even the soul power of a king was affected, and it was difficult to see clearly. In such a realm, one could only passively take a beating. Those with stronger defense would be fine, but those with weaker defense would not even know how they died. It could be said that the Dark Knight King was extremely terrifying. His soul was also suppressed. Lin Xian tested it, and found that it was indeed similar to the Dark Canyon. His soul power was also suppressed. He couldn't probe too much. In that case, it would be difficult to find his opponent. Interesting. Lin Xian's lips curled up. At this moment, a cold voice sounded. Kid, don't try to be brave. In my Dark Knight realm, you can't use much strength. Don't even think about finding my traces. Now, feel the pain of death. Whoosh. A sinister voice sounded. At the same time, a terrifying black sword light pierced towards Lin Xian's feet. It was as if it was going to cut him in half. Whoosh. Lin Xian's figure flashed, and he quickly dodged. That sword light slashed towards the void and then disappeared. He dodged it. Seeing that his attack missed, the Dark Knight King was surprised. This shouldn't be. How could his opponent dodge so many attacks? Kid, I have to say that you're very lucky to be able to dodge my attack, but you won't be so lucky next time. Around Lin Xian, darkness surged, forming 18 black giant axes, and mercilessly chopped down. Continue to ask for recommendation votes. Bookmark, monthly vote, subscribe, tip. Chapter 2158. Boom, boom, boom. However, this time, he missed again. Lin Xian's figure disappeared in an instant and reappeared in another direction. What? He dodged again. How could this be? The King of Darkness hid in the darkness and frowned when he saw this scene. How could his opponent be so lucky? Damn it. No wonder you can be so arrogant. I didn't expect you to be so lucky. However, this time, I'll make a move personally. Let's see if you can still dodge it. Whoosh. The King of Darkness charged forward silently. He was like a ghost, without a trace of aura, and without a trace of sound. In his Dark Knight domain, he was the King of Darkness who ruled over everything. Nothing could go against him. Therefore, in an instant, he appeared behind Lin Xian. He stretched out his hand, and countless black auras appeared. They were like ghost claws that silently grabbed at Lin Xian's back. If he was caught, he would probably die immediately. Buzz. However, his palm stopped when it was less than 5 centimeters away from Lin Xian. He could no longer move forward. How could this be? The King of Darkness finally couldn't help but scream. His face was full of fear and disbelief, because he found that a hand had grabbed his palm, making it impossible for him to move forward. What? How could this be? The elder was stunned. How could the other party grab his palm? That meant that the other party had captured his tracks. But this shouldn't be the case. This was his king domain, and he was the king here. No one could capture his tracks. Only a peerless almighty would be able to do this. But was the other party a supreme powerhouse? The other party was only a 6-star king. How did he do it? Just as the Night Lord was lost in his thoughts, Lin Xian turned his head around. Boom! At the next moment, the King of Darkness was shocked. His pupils constricted as if he had seen a ghost. Because at this moment, there were golden Taoist patterns on Lin Xian's eyes. They looked very mysterious. What kind of eyes were those? The King of Darkness was stunned. He had never seen such golden eyes before. It was too terrifying. The power it carried made his heart tremble. It was as if it could pierce through him with a glance. However, he was clearly hiding within his own king's domain. Your darkness domain is useless against me, Lin Xian sneered. Then, he exerted force in his palm. Crack! In the next moment, the King of Darkness cried out in pain because his hand had been broken. Following this, countless traces of black aura flowed out of his body, and the darkness domain around him quickly moved forwards. Lin Xian sneered and let go of his hand. His figure appeared in another direction and dodged the attack. The King of the Dark Night also took this opportunity to retreat. His face was pale, and cold sweat trickled down his forehead. The Dark Night domain around him provided him with energy, allowing his broken arm to recover. However, he was extremely shocked in his heart. He had miscalculated. He had definitely miscalculated. His opponent had a pair of golden eyes that could see through his king's domain and clearly track his movements. This was something he had never imagined. His advantage was gone. Thinking of this, his face turned gloomy. However, as a terrifying elite almighty, he did not only have the advantage of hiding his tracks. Therefore, the King of Darkness did not escape. Instead, he chose to continue fighting. Kid, I admit that I have underestimated you. You are very powerful. But do you think that you can be arrogant just because of that? The King of Darkness snorted. My king's domain is not only useful for hiding my tracks. Whoosh! In the next moment, an extremely terrifying aura radiated from his body, and the king's domain around him trembled. Whoosh! The king of the underworld's body instantly disappeared. His speed was so fast that it was dazzling. Whoosh! In an instant, he was in front of Lin Xian. The long sword in his hand quickly stabbed out. Boom! Lin Xian also raised his sword and slashed out. The two swords collided violently. However, the King of Darkness did not take it head-on. He swayed and disappeared again. When he reappeared, he was on the other side of Lin Xian. Kid, speed is also my advantage. You can't keep up with my speed at all. The corners of his mouth curled up into a cold smile. Moreover, his speed was getting faster and faster. You want to compete with me in speed? Lin Xian sneered. He did not use the demigods and semi-devils. Instead, a terrifying icy aura surged from his body. Boom! A wave of icy power spread out in all directions, covering a radius of 100 miles. Ice domain. You're an ice-type martial artist. The King of Darkness was shocked. He quickly retreated because his body was covered in frost. He had no choice. The icy aura froze his power and slowed his speed. You can actually restrain my speed. The King of Darkness's face darkened. He did not expect his opponent to be an Ice King. The icy aura had greatly interfered with his speed. However, you're dead meat if you want to compete with me in terms of King's domain. The King of Darkness sneered again. He was an elite almighty. He was very powerful. His King's domain could easily shatter his opponent's domain. Thinking of this, he activated his Dark Knight domain and blasted it towards Lin Xian's blue world of frost. Boom! Boom! The collision of the two's domains was extremely terrifying. Cracks appeared in the surrounding void one after another. Who told you that my domain is an ice domain? Lin Xian sneered disdainfully. Suddenly, a sharp light bloomed in his eyes. Immediately, the dragon sword spirit domain appeared and turned into a shocking sword light, slashing forward. At the same time, a monstrous murderous aura spread out. He wasn't an ice-type martial artist. He had other domains. Seeing this scene, the King of Darkness was shocked. He was wrong. He was really wrong. He did not expect the young man in front of him to be so terrifying. With his strength, It could be said that he could easily kill an elite almighty, because no one could resist his Dark Knight domain. But now, not only did this kid have a pair of golden eyes that could see through his tracks, but he also used ice to suppress his speed. Now, he had an extremely terrifying aura that he could not resist at all. Door of Darkness. At the critical moment, the King of Darkness roared. His Dark Knight domain began to tremble, forming two pitch-black doors in front of him. Boom. In the next moment, the Dragon Sword domain blasted on top of the King of Darkness, creating a shocking collision. Crack. However, the Door of Darkness only lasted for a short while before it shattered. What? He was actually so powerful. The King of Darkness's scalp went numb. He did not expect that the other party could even destroy his Door of Darkness. Damn it, I don't believe it. The King of Darkness roared ferociously. The black aura on his body became thicker and covered his body. At this moment, the King of Darkness was like an unparalleled demon king. Soul of Darkness. The Dark Knight King roared, and a vertical black demonic pattern appeared on his forehead. The moment the demonic mark appeared, it emitted a terrifying aura. It was like an eye that was extremely mysterious. The sky collapsed and shattered. It could not withstand it at all. Even Lin Xian felt a chill down his spine. The King of Darkness was indeed powerful. Chapter 2159. But in the next moment, he sneered and used his heavenly secret god eyes. Mysterious runes appeared in his eyes. They turned into mysterious runes. Buzz. A dark light shot out from the demonic runes on the King of Darkness's face and slashed forward. Soul ignition. Lin Xian's eyes were extremely cold. Countless mysterious runes started to spin in his right eye. Then, a ball of golden flames floated out from his eyes. Whoosh! Soon, the golden flame clashed with the black light and burned it to ashes. Not only that, the golden flame did not weaken and instantly engulfed the King of Darkness. The King of Darkness screamed in agony. His entire body was twisted and he struggled in the air. But after a few seconds, he stopped struggling. His eyes were empty as he fell to the ground. The Dark Knight domain around him also disappeared in an instant. Boom! His body landed on the ground and created a deep pit. Cracks spread around him. Lin Xian slowly descended and came to the King of Darkness's side. He checked his opponent again and heaved a sigh of relief. The King of Darkness's soul power had been completely destroyed. There was no chance of him surviving. What a terrifying attack! Even Lin Xian was shocked. He could feel that the King of Darkness was an elite almighty, and he was extremely powerful. But even so, he could not stop the golden flame from burning. What was even more strange was that the King of Darkness was not injured at all. Only his soul was burned. What a terrifying heavenly secret god eyes. He was shocked. Such a soul attack was impossible to defend against. This was a move that came with the heavenly secret god eyes. Lin Xian realized that as his strength increased, the heavenly secret god eyes would automatically display various powerful moves. This mysterious eye shocked Lin Xian. Even He Tu and the Crimson Dragon could not understand it. However, although this move was powerful, it consumed more than half of Lin Xian's soul power. It could be said that with Lin Xian's current strength, he could only use it 2 or 3 times. But 2 or 3 times was enough. After all, this was a terrifying killing move. Lin Xian used it as a trump card. He waved his hand and took the King of Darkness's storage ring. Then, he turned around and left. His soul power had been greatly consumed. He needed to rest and recover to his peak in order to fight the next battle. But luckily, Lin Xian had many treasures. So, he prepared some elixirs that were used to recover soul power. Half a day later, his soul power had recovered. Phew! Lin Xian let out a breath and he stood. Now, as long as he was not surrounded by dozens of lords. But there were still threats. The Golden Lion King was the biggest threat to him. Other than that, it was the third prince and the first prince. There had been no movement from the first prince's side, but the third prince had tried to kill him time and time again. He had even released the news, asking the whole world to attack him. Killing intent rose in Lin Xian's heart. He decided to kill the third prince. However, before Lin Xian could make a move, two more figures flew towards him. They were very arrogant. They did not hide at all. They released their powerful auras and rushed over. They were two experts. Only experts would dare to be so powerful and confident. "Young man, are you Lin Xian?" At that moment, a flirtatious voice was heard, and the two figures from afar came before Lin Xian. The one who spoke was a beautiful woman. She was in her 20s. Her clothes fluttered in the wind. Her movements were light, but there was a faint icy blue in her eyes. But her tone did not sound like a young man. Instead, she sounded like a god. On the other side, there was a handsome man in a blue robe. He looked young, but his eyes were filled with vicissitudes. "Kid, I'll give you a chance. Hand over the treasure. Otherwise, die." Here they come again. Lin Xian's lips curled up. He knew it. It was impossible for the King of Darkness to come alone. He looked at the two in front of him and asked, "Tell me your names. Which prince sent you here?" "We are the first prince's men." The first prince was destined to be the crown prince. In the future, he would be the ruler of Tai Emperor's court. It was unwise to make an enemy of such a person. "How about this? Hand over the treasure obediently and come back with us. Perhaps the first prince will spare your life. It is not impossible for him to put you in an important position." The first prince's men. Lin Xian narrowed his eyes. As expected, the first prince could not wait to make a move. "You want my treasure? Sure. Let's see if you have the ability." Lin Xian's body surged with hundreds of sword qi and circled in the air. "You dare to attack us? You must be tired of living." The Spirit Fire King snorted. "Kid, I heard that you have the power of ice and fire. Coincidentally, my sister and I also have the power of ice and fire. Let's see if you have the capital to be arrogant or not." On the other side, the beautiful woman, King Tianchuang, laughed coldly. "Ice and fire?" Lin Xian was surprised. He looked at the two people in front of him again. These two people have the power of ice and fire. What kind of special means do they have? They must be extraordinary, because ordinary ice and fire elements could not compete with him. His ice and fire came from the legendary Cerberus of Hell. "Sister, why are you talking nonsense with him? Just kill him." Then, he brought his heavenly treasure and head to see the first prince. The Spirit Fire King's expression was cold. His eyes were filled with killing intent. In the next moment, a pair of flaming wings appeared on his back. He charged toward Lin Xian with a fiery aura. In the blink of an eye, he was beside Lin Xian. He reached out a hand. This hand was powerful and covered with flames. It was like the hand of the god of fire. "Humph!" Lin Xian snorted and waved his fist. Hellfire rushed out and covered his fist. Boom! The two collided. Two types of flames surged in the air. The terrifying energy lit up the entire sky. Whoosh! 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 The sky was filled with flames. The red and black flames collided in the air. They were evenly matched. The Spirit Fire King frowned. He was surprised that Lin Xian's flames could compete with his. In the next moment, the flaming wings on his back vibrated. He returned to his original position. "Interesting. The flames are not weak. They are strange. No wonder you are so arrogant. Kid, I wanted to kill you for the first prince. Now, it seems like you have no choice but to die. Only by devouring your flames can I improve my cultivation." The Spirit Fire King's eyes shone with a terrifying light. His cultivation technique was to devour different flames to purify his power. Now that he saw the flames on Lin Xian's body, he was naturally excited. He wanted to take them for himself. Me too. On the other side, the Frost King also stood out. Her exquisite face had a smile. "I wonder what kind of ice element you have. Don't disappoint me." Chapter 2160. Although she was beautiful, she was an old monster who had lived for thousands of years. Her attack was extremely powerful. With a wave of her hand, a terrifying ice appeared. Countless ice flashed under her feet. Then, a huge ice spear rose from the ground. Like an ice dragon, it pierced towards Lin Xian. Whoosh! Lin Xin's body flashed and retreated. However, just as he moved, the surrounding ice energy enveloped him. His speed slowed down as he was enveloped by the icy aura. In the next moment, hellfire surged out from his body and blocked the ice. An ice-long sword appeared in his hand. Boom! He slashed out with his sword, slicing through the sky and slicing the world of ice before him in half. What a powerful ice energy! What a pure sword of ice! Lord Tianshuang smiled satisfactorily. Not bad, not bad. Kid, I didn't expect you to have so many treasures. Since that's the case, the two of us will take them. Humph. What? You think you can take me down? Lin Xin snorted. The two of them had appeared as if they were in control of the situation. Did they really think that he could be taken advantage of? Kid, it seems like you don't understand the situation. You might be able to fight us one-on-one, but we won't give you a chance. Don't worry. We'll give it our all. We won't give you any chance to escape. Although you didn't offend us, it's your fault that you have such a treasure and such a pure ice and fire attribute energy. Since you have a treasure that doesn't belong to you, you deserve to die. After you die, we'll make good use of your energy. Lord Tianshuang smiled coldly. Buzz. Su Qin's face darkened as well. Cold killing intent appeared in his eyes. He summoned the dragon sword territory and covered Lord's spiritual fire. He pulled out his demonic sword and charged towards Lord Tianshuang. How dare you attack me? Kid, you've angered me. Lord Tianshuang laughed, but the light in her eyes was extremely sharp. Boom! She lashed out with her palm, which immediately formed a blue frost palm and blasted towards Lin Xin. Pong! In the next moment, Lin Xin's figure flashed and dodged the palm. However, the surrounding icy aura enveloped him. Then, countless frost formed and froze him in midair. It's useless. The entire space is within my attack range. Seeing that his opponent was frozen, Frost King smiled. I have to say, you're really too weak. You can't even take a single move from me. Boom. However, just as she finished speaking, the ice sculpture suddenly exploded into pieces. Then, Lin Xin took a step forward. His body glowed brightly, and he didn't suffer any frostbite at all. Had it been broken? He hadn't been affected at all. How could this be? Seeing this, Frost King frowned. This shouldn't be the case. Even though his opponent was also an Ice King, he was very confident in his own ice energy. Even if the other party wasn't injured, they would still be affected. But now, the light on the other party's body was resplendent. It was clear that he hadn't received any damage at all. How could this brat's physique be so strong? King Tianshuang frowned. What he didn't know was that Lin Xin had just used the immemorial demonic blood to refine his body. Naturally, his physique was extremely strong. Although his opponent's ice energy was terrifying, it didn't have much effect on him. Lin Xin was delighted. His physique was obviously much stronger than before. This was the effect of the immemorial demonic blood. As expected of an immemorial demonic beast, the power of its bloodline was indeed terrifying. Lin Xin clenched his fists. His eyes glowed as he smiled. Whoosh! He used the demonic 8 parts and charged towards his opponent. Do you think you're the only one who knows how to use the power of ice? Lin Xin snorted coldly. His body emitted a terrifying ice energy that froze the surroundings. The entire space turned into a world of ice and snow. You're not qualified to use ice in front of me. Frost King snorted coldly. Countless amounts of ice surged out of his body. The two's ice energy clashed in the air. However, at this moment, Lin Xin held the demonic sword in his hand. His body emitted a terrifying killing intent. Ice Piercer. As he stabbed out, a blue sword light pierced through the void and sliced the space in half. Boom! The world of ice and snow that Frost King had created was sliced apart. What a powerful sword chi! Frost King's face turned pale as she hurriedly dodged. However, the sword light in Lin Xin's hand became brighter and brighter. Then, it turned into a curtain of swords that covered the sky. Finally, 3 of the sword chi hit Frost King. Clang! Clang! Even though it had hit the armor, Frost King was still sent flying. Frost King's face was pale. Blood flowed from the corner of her mouth. The blood in her body was chaotic. She didn't expect Lin Xian's sword technique to be so powerful that it could injure her. Boom. At this moment, there was an earth-shattering explosion behind her. Then, a sea of fire flew and blew away the dragon sword realm. Kid, do you think you can trap me with a small realm? How naive. Spiritual Fire King sneered. Flames danced on his body as if he was the fire god. His eyes were sharp. Lin Xian's face darkened. He waved his hand, and the dragon sword realm appeared beside him, emitting countless sword chi. After Spiritual Fire King came out, he looked into the distance. However, when he saw that Frost King was injured and her face was pale, his face darkened. Killing intent surged from his body. Sister, you're injured, Spiritual Fire King exclaimed. Then, he turned around and stared at Lin Xian. Damn kid, how dare you injure my sister? I'll tear you to pieces. You won't have the chance. Lin Xian snorted. Blood-red sword runes appeared under his feet. The demon-slaying sword array rushed up and covered the ground. Then, the immemorial shadow appeared. The huge black body crushed the void as if it was going to crush Spiritual Fire King into a bloody mist. This immemorial demon soul had been refined by Lin Xian using the immemorial demon blood not long ago. Its power had increased once again. It was terrifying. It was as if a real immemorial demon beast had been revived. Its terrifying power crushed the void. Even the elites wouldn't dare to fight against it. Not good. The Spirit Fire King was startled when he saw the ancient phantom, and a trace of shock appeared on his face. He did not expect that the other party would have such a terrifying ultimate move, especially the aura of the primordial phantom, which made him shudder with fear. In the next moment, flames surged out of his body and formed a red lotus. It kept expanding in front of him. It was as heavy as a mountain. Boom, boom, boom. Then, the immemorial shadow crashed into the red lotus. Heaven and earth shook. There was a huge explosion in the void. A terrifying shockwave swept out. Initially, Frost King wanted to charge over. However, when she sensed the energy storm, she retreated as well. In front of her, Spiritual Fire King grunted. The red lotus above his head shattered, turning into countless flames. Chapter 2161. His entire body kept retreating, creating a black hole in the void. Damn it! How is this kid so strong? Spirit Fire King steadied himself with an ugly expression. He didn't expect that other than the power of ice and fire, his opponent would also have such a terrifying archaic shadow. It seemed that he had to be careful of his attacks. Spirit Fire King formed a hand seal, and a layer of fiery red armor covered his body. He looked forward again. What a dense fire aura. Lin Xian's eyebrows twitched as he looked ahead. He realized that the flame battle armor was no ordinary item. It should be a top-tier Earth-grade treasure. His opponent was indeed not an ordinary almighty. He actually had a top-tier treasure. Thinking of this, Lin Xian snorted coldly. The dragon sword soul in his body circulated, and the dragon sword domain trembled rapidly. Then, countless sword chi flew out like meteors in the sky, all of them blasting forward. It's useless. My armor is a top-tier Earth-grade one. You can't break my defense. Spirit Fire King sneered. Hand over the heavenly treasure obediently, or you'll die. Spirit Fire King then slapped his palms, and a monstrous sea of fire spread out, covering the entire sky. Go to hell, brat. At this moment, Frost King also charged over. The brother and sister didn't care about the rules of the world. They decided to work together to kill Lin Xian. On the other side, Frost King also unleashed a terrifying amount of ice power. It transformed into a giant ice snake in the air, baring its fangs and brandishing its claws as it pounced towards Lin Xian, as if it wanted to swallow him whole. Boom, boom, boom. The battle was very intense, and the surrounding space trembled violently. This phenomenon naturally attracted many almighty kings. They had been frantically looking for Lin Xian, and now they were wandering around every corner of the secondary space. They naturally had to come and watch a battle of this level. What a terrifying aura. Who is fighting? This is the power of fire and ice. Is it the brother and sister of the first prince? Spirit Fire King and Frost King. They were both experts among the elites. The brother and sister together were terrifying. They could fight top-tier almighties. Who was fighting them? Was it the third prince's men or the eighth prince's men? The people in the distance discussed animatedly. However, they only dared to watch from 10,000 miles away. They didn't dare to come closer. This was because the area within a radius of 10,000 miles was completely covered by a monstrous sea of fire and terrifying frost. What? It's him. At this moment, a middle-aged man's eyes emitted a black light that pierced through the void. He saw the situation inside and exclaimed, "What's wrong, old Fong? Who did you see?" The person next to him asked. Lin Xian was Lin Xian's son. The middle-aged man explained the situation. It was that brat. It was really him. A pair of worn-out iron shoes searching for nothing, only to find it by chance without any effort. An old man laughed loudly, while the others were shocked. Although they had found Lin Xian's whereabouts, the current situation was not optimistic. Even an idiot could tell that Spirit Fire King and Frost King were fighting for the treasures. If the two kings succeeded in capturing him, it would be difficult for them to make a move on him. However, they didn't dare to snatch it now. After all, Spirit Fire King and Frost King could defeat them if they joined forces. Hence, they could only watch from afar. But soon, they sucked in a breath of cold air. This was because they realized that Lin Xian wasn't at a disadvantage against the two powerful kings. Instead, he was getting fiercer and fiercer. Heavens, where did this brat come from? His combat strength was too terrifying. Many kings swallowed their saliva. In the distance, Spiritual Fire Emperor and Frost Emperor's faces darkened as well. Both of them were elite almighties, and their expressions could fight against pinnacle almighties. However, they couldn't take down a brat even with their combined forces. This gave them a surreal feeling. How could this brat be so strong? Their faces turned ugly as they attacked even more ferociously. Damn brat, go to hell. The Spiritual Fire King roared in anger. When he opened and closed his eyes, terrifying flames overflowed. On the other side, Frost King was also terrifying. She waved her hand, and the ice domain around her froze the entire area. Lin Xian was even more valiant. His eyes were terrifying, and the sword chi on his body surged. He opened the dragon sword domain, and the terrifying sword chi turned into giant dragons that rampaged in the sky. The demonic sword in his hand became hundreds of feet long. Every time it slashed down, it would destroy a part of the world. Boom, boom, boom. At this moment, Lin Xian displayed his powerful combat strength against the two elite kings. In front of him, energy rumbled as if the world was about to be destroyed. The people who were watching the battle from afar were all shocked and dumbfounded. Although they were here to capture Lin Xian, they had to admit that Lin Xian was too strong. If it were them, they wouldn't be able to withstand such a combo attack. One move would probably turn them into a bloody mist. But now, Lin Xian was still not at a disadvantage after exchanging hundreds of moves with them. How powerful and heaven-defying was that? No, the Spirit Fire King and Frost King haven't used their full strength yet. I remember that they both have bloodline power. An elder's eyes flashed as he spoke. That was indeed the case. The others nodded as well. They had naturally heard of the power of the siblings. Their bloodline power would increase their combat strength. If they used it, Lin Xian wouldn't be able to withstand it. Boom, 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 boom. Another intense collision. Lin Xian turned into a sword god, and the demonic sword in his hand slashed forward, clashing with the terrifying world of fire and ice. Then, the three of them split up and stood in three different directions. Lin Xian's eyes were solemn, and his body was filled with killing intent. On the other side, the Spirit Fire King and Frost King's faces were terrifyingly dark. They didn't expect a brat to be so troublesome. They couldn't do anything to him even if they worked together. Some of the sword wounds on their bodies were caused by the other party. They were still in pain and couldn't heal at all. Brother, don't hold back anymore. Use your bloodline power. We have to take down this brat quickly. I feel that he's too evil. Frost King gritted his teeth and said, "All right." Hearing this, the Spirit Fire King nodded solemnly. Then, The flames in his eyes shone even brighter. "Brat, you should be proud that you made us use our bloodline power." Speaking of this, a flame mark appeared in between his eyebrows. Then, the blood in his body rumbled as he quickly used his bloodline power. Bloodline power. Hearing this, Lin Xian frowned. No wonder. This pair of siblings actually possessed the power of bloodline. It was indeed terrifying. Only he was strong enough to withstand it. If it were another elite, he would have been killed long ago. Boom. Spirit Fire Bloodline. The Spirit Fire King roared as streaks of bloody light shot out from his body and merged with the surrounding flames. Chapter 2162. Flame runes flashed around his body, each of them mysterious and emitting a terrifying power. On the other side, Frost King also used her bloodline. A blue snowflake appeared between her eyebrows, and the power of ice in her body became even more terrifying. Even the kings who were watching from afar were trembling, their faces pale. This aura was twice as strong as before. Everyone was shocked. This bloodline power was too terrifying. It could actually multiply one's attack power. It's over. That kid is dead for sure. Yeah, unless he also had bloodline power, he wouldn't be able to fight back at all. What a pity. The treasure was going to belong to the first prince. Discussions could be heard. Obviously, these people thought that Lin Xian couldn't fight against Spirit Fire King and Frost King. Go to hell, brat. Spirit Fire King roared and punched out. The terrifying fist tore through the void and smashed towards Lin Xian. Wong. Lin Xian waved his hand, and countless hellfire gathered, forming a huge flaming door in front of him. Pong. However, in the next moment, the flaming door was smashed into pieces by the punch. Lin Xian stepped forward and used the demigods and demigods to dodge the terrifying fist. It's useless. Stop struggling. You're not my match at all. Spirit Fire King's voice was cold. You have no chance of resisting after using your bloodline power. Kid, this is the difference between us. With bloodline power, we are the favorites of heaven and earth. We are invincible. Frost King also attacked mercilessly. She was like an ice queen who wanted to suppress everything in the world. In her jade-like hand, an ice spear quickly formed, and she waved it forward. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. In an instant, a cold wind blew, and the air was filled with a terrifying icy aura. In the sky, Lin Xian's sword chi was all frozen, and then fell to the ground, creating countless craters. This is the difference between us. Your attacks are completely useless against the power of our bloodline. Unless you have bloodline power, you have no right to fight against us. Spirit Fire King snorted. Lin Xian said in a deep voice, I don't have the power of a bloodline, but what I have, you don't have either. At this point, he let out an angry roar. The great dragon sword spirit in his body suddenly erupted. Then, a sharp sword wave surged from his body, connecting heaven and earth and spread out in all directions. Lin Xian's aura also became incomparably strong in an instant. So powerful. This guy's strength had also increased. How could this be? Could it be that he had been hiding his strength before? The mighty figures in the distance were all stunned. They didn't dare to believe it. Spiritual Fire King and Frost King sensed the change in aura. Their pupils shrank as well. Stronger, the other party's aura had also become stronger. Just like them, he had become incomparably powerful, far stronger than before. But how was that possible? They had become stronger because of their bloodline power. When they unleashed their bloodline power, their battle prowess would increase exponentially. However, what right did the other party have? The other party did not possess any bloodline power, so how could his battle prowess have increased? They simply could not understand. If you can't figure it out, then go to hell and figure it out. Lin Xian snorted coldly. He swung his sword, and a terrifying flaming sword slashed down crazily. At the same time, his palm moved, and a thunderous palm slapped towards Frost King. At this moment, Lin Xian was like a god of war. He was unstoppable. Boom, 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 boom. Spiritual Fire King and Frost King fought back against the terrifying Sword Chi and Thunderous Palm. Then, they roared, "Damn kid, go to hell." The two of them were really angry. They had unleashed their bloodline power. Could it be that they couldn't do anything to the other party? They didn't believe it, so they attacked fiercely. His fist was extremely red. This was the terrifying bloodline power. Together with the towering flames, it was definitely terrifying. Boom. The fist was like a sun that appeared in the sky. On the other side, Frost King also slapped out with his jade-like hand. His jade-like hand contained terrifying bloodline power. It was like the hand of the ice goddess. It was extremely terrifying. Boom, boom, boom. Lin Xian had completely exploded. He held the sword in one hand and slashed towards Spiritual Fire King. His other hand was clenched into a fist and punched towards Frost King. Boom. The sword chi slashed open the fiery fist. Lin Xian's fist pushed back the icy palm. Seeing this scene, the people in the distance were all stunned. Some of the older generation people even exclaimed, "Heavens, isn't his physique a little too strong? He dares to fight against an expert with bloodline power barehandedly without being injured. How did he do it? I've only seen such a physique on the Golden Lion King." But the Golden Lion King was a genius of the war tribe. Where did this kid come from? These people were crazy. The craziest ones were Spiritual Fire King and Frost King. Both of them had unleashed their bloodline power. They were originally full of confidence and thought that they could destroy the other party. However, the other party didn't expect that they couldn't suppress the other party. In fact, they were suppressed by the other party. This made them go crazy. Damn it. Fire Spirit Divine Fist. Spiritual Fire King roared. His fists surged crazily. They were like meteors that smashed forward. Frost Seal. Between the heaven and earth, the air was filled with icy aura. Then, a mysterious palm descended from the sky. Holding an ancient seal, it suppressed Lin Xian. Everywhere it passed, there would be a clanging sound. The space was completely frozen. Spiritual Fire King and Frost King were truly enraged. At this moment, not only did they unleash their bloodline power, but they also unleashed their powerful martial skills. Kill. Lin Xian roared as well. His killing intense sword. He held the 9 darkness demonic sword in his hand. With a swing of his sword, the fiery sword chi gathered. A black sword light swept across the heaven and earth. Chaotic Heaven Destroyer Sword. During this period of time, Lin Xian's Chaotic Heaven Destroyer Sword had improved again. It was a lot stronger than before. Therefore, when he unleashed it now, the sky changed color. Boom, boom, boom. After an intense collision, Spiritual Fire King roared. He was hit by 2 sword chis. Blood spurted out. There was even a place where his bones were exposed. He couldn't believe it. The other party's sword chi was too terrifying. Even his soul was trembling. On the other side, Frost King was also hit by a sword chi. She was sent flying and vomited blood. Her delicate face turned incomparably pale. Lin Xian quickly unleashed the Chaotic Heaven Destroyer Sword to fight with the other two. He didn't have any other moves. He wanted to improve his sword skills in such an extreme battle. After all, the Chaotic Heaven Destroyer Sword was a heaven-class sword skill. It was difficult to cultivate normally. Spiritual Fire King and Frost King were rare opponents. Therefore, he didn't want to let go of this opportunity. He wanted to fight to his heart's content. Boom. The battle was unusually intense. Lin Xian relied on his body that had just been tempered by the primordial bloodline. After putting on the black armor, he was extremely valiant. Chapter 2163. The Chaotic Sky Destroyer Sword in his hand was even more powerful. Lord Tianshuang and Lord Spiritual Fire roared in anger. In the blink of an eye, another 100 moves had passed. Just then, Lord Spiritual Fire released 400 streaks of sword light. Each of them was filled with chaotic sword chi. Lord Spiritual Fire roared and waved his hands. His bloodline power exploded and turned into a sea of red fire, blocking the 400 streaks of sword light. At the same time, he retreated quickly. Wong. After pushing Lord's spiritual fire back, Lin Xian used demonic dragon's 8 parts and appeared in front of Lord Tianshuang. He slashed down with his demonic sword. Streaks of chaotic sword chi fell from the sky. Boom, boom, boom. It was as if countless dragons were flying down from the sky. They broke through the void and pressed down on Lord Tianshuang. Lord Tianshuang's expression changed instantly. Her delicate face became ferocious. She did not expect Lin Xian to be so fast that she could not react in time. It was impossible for her to escape now. She gritted her teeth and activated her bloodline power, preparing to fight back. Ice God's Wall. Heaven Frost King quickly formed a seal. The ice field vibrated and formed 8 blue ice walls around her. Each one was hundreds of feet tall and towered into the sky. The 8 blue ice walls shone with runes and gave off a mysterious aura. The 8 ice walls were like mysterious ice mountains. They blocked in front of Lord Tianshuang and surrounded her tightly. After using this mystique, Lord Tianshuang heaved a sigh of relief. Then, an ice armor appeared on her body. She did not believe that Lin Xian could break her ice god's wall. Boom. In the next moment, the terrifying demonic sword landed on the ice walls. Suddenly, the ground shook and a cold wind blew. Frost started to fall from the sky. Crack, crack, crack. Cracks began to appear on one of the gigantic ice walls. The cracks quickly spread until the entire ice wall was completely cracked. Then, it exploded with a loud bang. No! Lord Tianshuang roared and spat out blood again. She was hurt by this attack and was sent flying. However, she waved her hand and the remaining 7 ice walls started to spin again. However, she had underestimated Lin Xian's speed. In the blink of an eye, Lin Xian had appeared beside her, so the ice wall had lost its effect. Damn it! Seeing this scene, the Spirit Fire King in the distance roared and rushed over madly. He had already healed his injuries, but he did not expect that his sister would fall into an extremely dangerous situation. Brat, if you dare to touch my sister, I'll tear you to shreds. Pong. However, just as he finished speaking, the long sword in Lin Xian's hand fell at the same time. Instantly, the attack landed on Frost King's stomach. Frost King spat out a mouthful of blood, dyeing the sky red. Her delicate body was like a shooting star, smashing down heavily. Boom, boom. Dust rose from the great earth below, the great earth cracking apart. For 1,000-li-long cracks appeared, and they were still continuously extending. The pupils of the King Almighty's thousands of miles away shrank when they saw this scene, and all of them were extremely terrified. To be honest, they had never dreamed that such a scene would occur. This was because they knew how terrifying Frost King and the Spirit Fire King with their bloodline power were. However, Lin Xian's strength had exceeded their expectations and understanding. Ah, damn brat, I'll kill you. I'll definitely kill you. The Spirit Fire King roared madly. This was because he realized that Lin Xian had sent his sister flying. He rushed over madly, his eyes red, and his body filled with killing intent. It turned into a killing sword, piercing through the surroundings. Boom. Chaotic Heaven Destroyer Sword, Demon Seal. At this moment, the sword light in Lin Xian's hand suddenly exploded. He had used the first killing move of the Chaotic Heaven Destroyer Sword. Boom. A huge sword chi descended from the sky, ruthlessly striking the Spirit Fire King's body, instantly sending him flying. The armor on his body shattered instantly, and a terrifying sword mark appeared in front of him, almost cutting him in half. The spiritual energy in Lin Xian's body was quickly sucked out like water. He did not expect that the Chaotic Heaven Destroyer Sword would consume so much energy. Especially this killing move. It had used up 1/3 of his spiritual energy. Whoosh! He sucked hard, and the spiritual energy in a radius of 10,000 miles quickly gathered towards him. The crowd in the distance sucked in a breath of cold air. They were shocked. Even the Almighty Kings were dumbfounded. They hadn't expected Lin Xian to be able to unleash such a powerful killing move. 5,000 miles away, the Spirit Fire King stopped and roared into the sky. His body had almost been cut in half. His body was a blur, and blood flowed wildly. The mountains and rivers below were also destroyed mercilessly. Shock, fear, humiliation, anger, and all sorts of emotions swirled in the Spirit Fire King's heart, making him crazy. In the next moment, he took out a large amount of spiritual herbs from his storage ring and swallowed them. At the same time, he used his cultivation technique to temporarily suppress his injuries, and the bloodline power in his body burst out. Crazy. He had really gone crazy. No matter what price he had to pay, he would kill his opponent today. Therefore, in the next moment, fierce flames erupted from his eyes, burning fiercely. Boom. On the other side, a figure flew up quickly from the ground. It was the Frost King. She had been hit by Lin Xian earlier, and there were 3 sword holes on her body. Although she had temporarily suppressed her injuries, her hair was disheveled, and she was in a sorry state. You are the first person to force me and my sister into such a desperate situation. The Spirit Fire King gritted his teeth, and his voice was filled with killing intent. However, there is no chance for you to kill us. As he spoke, he flew closer and closer to Frost King. Seeing this, Lin Xian frowned. The powerful kings in the distance were also confused. What was going on? The Frost King and the Spirit Fire King still wanted to fight? However, this should not be the case. They were both heavily injured, and it seemed like they could not even use half of their combat strength. Under such circumstances, how could he possibly be a match for Lin Xian? After all, they could not even defeat him when they were at their peak. Now that they were heavily injured, how could they turn the tables? Why was he not running away? They could not understand. Could it be that he still had some trump cards? That was right, they still had some trump cards. Soon, these people were stunned. The Spirit Fire King and the Frost King were leaning against each other, and their bloodline powers were beginning to merge. Kid, I will let you see our final killing move. No one can block our final killing move, and you are no exception. You will be killed. I will use your blood to wash away the humiliation we have suffered. The Spirit Fire King and the Frost King gritted their teeth, and their bloodline powers quickly exploded and merged in the air. Buzz. Their king domains also intertwined in the air, and the power of ice and fire quickly gathered, and an even more terrifying aura exploded. Please recommend, vote, subscribe, collect, tip. Chapter 2164. Buzz. Their king domains intertwined in the sky. The power of ice and fire quickly gathered, and an even more terrifying aura burst out. What? The fusion of ice and fire? Their bloodline powers were actually able to fuse. In the distance, the King Realm experts were stunned. What kind of theory was this? It was impossible. Ice and fire were 2 completely opposite powers. How could they merge? However, it was happening right in front of them now. Even Lin Xian furrowed his brows as his eyes flickered. He did not expect the other party to possess such ability. However, soon after, he sneered. It seemed that even the heavens were helping him. He had the Hellfire and Sea God's ice, but he could only let them coexist. He could not merge them. However, the 2 in front of him could merge them. They must have some kind of secret technique. If he could get it, he might be able to increase the power of his ice and fire. In front of him, the 2's aura burst out again. Their bloodline powers had merged. An ice and fire domain circled in the sky, releasing a terrifying power. Brat, take our strongest attack. Ice and fire. Spirit Fire King and Frost King roared as they attacked together. Their king domains quickly shot out a beam of ice and fire. A mysterious power surged. It was both cold and hot. The 2 completely opposite auras merged into one. It was like a beam of divine light descending from the sky towards Lin Xian. This attack was too terrifying. Even the King Realm experts thousands of miles away knelt on the ground. They could not take it. Lin Xian's expression was grave as well. He too felt a great threat. In the next moment, he took a deep breath and swung the Chaotic Sky Destroyer sword again. Demon Seal. It was the same killer move from before. This time, Lin Xian was even more familiar with it. Countless sword chi flashed and formed a huge net. It seemed to be able to seal the world. Boom. The 2 attacks collided. In the end, the chaotic sky destroyer sword was stronger and sealed the beam of ice and fire. He could seal it. This was impossible. What kind of sword technique was he using? How could it be stronger than our combined attack? Spirit Fire King and Frost King were stunned. They did not dare to look. This was their strongest trump card, a powerful killing move formed by the fusion of their bloodlines. Even pinnacle mighty figures couldn't resist it. However, the other party actually managed to block it. What kind of swordsmanship was that? They had no chance to find out because Lin Xian had sealed the light of ice and fire. Then, he stretched out his palms and turned them into two green dragons. In an instant, Spirit Fire King and Frost King were bound and sealed. Loud and clear dragon roars were heard. Spirit Fire Emperor and Frost Emperor's faces were ashen. They did not have much energy left. There was no way he could withstand Lin Xian's attacks. However, in the next moment, they were all stunned. The reason for that was because they discovered that although they were bound, the other party did not take their lives. What was going on? The two of them couldn't understand. But in the next moment, the world spun and they fainted. With a wave of his hand, Lin Xian sealed the two of them, knocked them unconscious, and threw them into the black earth. He didn't kill them immediately because he had his own plans. These two people were still useful to him, so he kept them for now. What's going on? What about Spirit Fire King and Frost King? Could it be that they were killed? The people in the distance were shocked because Lin Xian's movements were too fast. Many of them didn't see it clearly. However, thinking about it, they were probably dead. With Lin Xian's terrifying means, the two of them would definitely be killed. In the next moment, Lin Xian turned around and looked around coldly. Then, he said in a deep voice, "What? You want to attack me too?" There was a trace of cold, killing intent in his voice. Instantly, the kings who were watching the battle swallowed their saliva and felt their scalps go numb. Many of them even ran away. What a joke. Who would dare to attack him? Didn't they see that the powerful Spirit Fire King and Frost King were defeated? Making a move against him now was truly an act of seeking death. In an instant, everyone left and didn't dare to get close. However, some of them secretly called for help. Although they couldn't defeat him, they didn't believe that he was invincible with more than 10 or 20 of them attacking together. However, these people had all left quietly, and no one dared to appear in front of Lin Xian. Lin Xian snorted and left in a flash. However, the news of this battle spread like wildfire. Those princes who weren't here heard about it, and all of them gasped. They didn't even believe it. They knew how powerful Spirit Fire King and Frost King were. How could they be defeated? However, as more and more people spread the news, they had no choice but to believe it. Damn it! When the first prince heard about it, he was furious. He roared in anger. He didn't expect that his two elite subordinates couldn't defeat Lin Xian even when they worked together. It was really unexpected. Damn it! Where was the Golden Lion King? He told him about Lin Xian and asked the Golden Lion King to kill him. On the other side, the third prince, the eighth prince, and the others had all heard about it. The eighth prince was naturally happy. He then led his men to the location of the battle. The third prince's face was gloomy. Even Spirit Fire King and Frost King had been defeated. The Dark King that he sent must have been killed. Damn brat, looks like I have to do it myself. The third prince also decided to lead a large group of men to kill Lin Xian. He didn't believe that Lin Xian could fight against his entire team. However, when they arrived, they found that Lin Xian had already left. This made them go crazy. However, the third prince believed that Lin Xian couldn't have escaped far. Therefore, they started a crazy search in the surrounding 100,000 miles. The Golden Lion King also arrived. He descended like a god of war. He then looked at the battlefield and snorted, "Brat, you can't escape." He then flew into the sky and disappeared again. However, Lin Xian had already left. He found a mountain range and hid before entering the Black Earth. In front of the third prince were two powerhouses who were tied up. Lin Xian sneered and walked over. Spirit Fire King and Frost King had already woken up. When they saw Lin Xian walking towards them, they screamed, "Damn brat, let us go. You dare to touch us? You're dead. You still dare to threaten me?" Lin Xian sneered. Looks like you guys still don't understand your situation. He looked at the two of them, his eyes shining with a terrifying light. What do you want? The two of them felt their hair stand on end when they were stared at. What do I want? Lin Xian sneered. You guys came to kill me. What do you think I want? Naturally, I'll kill you. Also, let me tell you something. I'm very interested in your ice and fire fusion power. Chapter 2165. Why? Of course, I'm going to kill you. Also, let me tell you something. I'm very interested in your fusion of ice and fire. What? Hearing this, the two's pupils shrank. Damn, brat, you dare to target us? They were furious. Previously, they wanted to kill Lin Xian and steal Lin Xian's energy. Unexpectedly, not only did they fail, they even became prey. How ironic. Dream on, we won't tell you. Frost King snorted. I don't need you to tell me. I'll get it myself. Lin Xian's eyes shone with a golden light. Your eyes. When Spirit Fire King and Frost King saw this scene, their eyes were filled with fear. In the next moment, they cried out in pain and their eyes became blurry. The golden light in Lin Xian's eyes became brighter and brighter. 2 hours later, he retracted his gaze. Plop. The two in front of him fell down powerlessly. So that's how it is. Lin Xian understood. With a wave of his hand, hellfire appeared and burned the two to ashes. In the following time, he began to study the fusion of ice and fire. On this day, Lin Xian opened his eyes. With a wave of his hand, a strange energy appeared in his hand. Lin Xian was delighted. He looked at the ball of fire and ice in his hand and smiled. Ever since he was strengthened by hellfire and ice, he was unable to fuse his heart. But now, it seemed that he had succeeded again. After the fusion of ice and fire, the energy would definitely increase by several folds. It had completely surpassed the power of hellfire and ice alone. Brat, the 8th prince's men are here. At this moment, He-Tu reminded him. The 8th prince had finally found his way here. Lin Xian raised his head. He wasn't surprised that the 8th prince could find him, because he still had 3 Trump Jade talismans in his possession. They could form a weak connection with the 8th prince. Thinking about it, the 8th prince would find him sooner or later. Moreover, he hadn't moved for the past 3 days. Little Lin, be careful. I wonder what the 8th prince's attitude is. At the side, the Crimson Dragon also reminded him. According to my deduction, the 8th prince is not a person who is greedy for treasures. His main goal should be to become the crown prince. Therefore, I guess that he wouldn't do anything to me. Instead, he would protect me. Lin Xian's guess was correct. When he left the Black Earth and met up with the 8th prince and the others outside, Lin Xian's eyes lit up. The 8th prince was overjoyed. Then, he quickly expressed his intentions. He decided to protect Lin Xian with all his might. Lin Xian laughed when he heard that. Don't worry, 8th prince. With me here, you will definitely become the crown prince. Brother Lin, do you have any good plans? The 8th prince asked. He had also heard of Lin Xian's battle achievements. This was definitely a formidable battle strength. With Lin Xian's support, the position of crown prince was just around the corner. The Almighties around the 8th prince, including Taoist Dragon and Lord of the Underworld, all looked at Lin Xian with strange expressions. They were nervous. To be honest, although Lin Xian's strength was formidable when he first came in, he was still lacking compared to the Almighties. At that time, they did not pay much attention to a young junior. But now, in less than a month, which was more than 20 days, Lin Xian's cultivation had increased by leaps and bounds. He had already surpassed them by far. This made them very emotional. They also knew that a peerless genius like Lin Xian was definitely rare. Perhaps only someone like the Golden Lion King could be mentioned in the same breath. Moreover, there were historical records of such freaks in the ancient times. In the ancient times, there was someone who became a saint at the age of 30 and became an unparalleled saint. There was someone who created a supreme sword technique in his 20s. There was an even more heaven-defying legend. There was someone who established a sect at the age of 18 and his strength was boundless. There was no limit to time for the Almighties. Those peerless geniuses were usually able to stand out when they were young and reach heights that ordinary people could never reach in their lifetime. There was no doubt that Lin Xian was also such a freak. Lin Xian naturally did not know what these people were thinking. After hearing the eighth prince's words, he thought for a while and said, "I've decided to take action against the third prince." Take action against the third prince. Hearing this, the eighth prince was stunned. The Almighties behind him were also shocked. If they were in Lin Xian's shoes, they would probably take the safer approach to protect themselves. However, Lin Xian wanted to take the initiative to attack the other princes. Moreover, Lin Xian chose one of the three strongest princes. "I have two reasons," Lin Xian explained. "First, it is my own reason. The third prince has tried to kill me many times and even spread the news to make everyone my enemy. Since he is trying to get rid of me, it is impossible for me not to be angry and not take action against him. Moreover, as the crown prince, your main opponents are the third prince and the first prince. The other princes are not a threat to you at all. As for the first prince and the third prince, the first prince is the strongest. Therefore, if you want to become the crown prince, you have to take action against the third prince. Only by taking care of the third prince will you be qualified to challenge the first prince." "That's right. I think so too." The eighth prince closed the folding fan in his hand and nodded slightly. "Then, I will take action against the third prince. I think you should know that all of us princes have trump cards that can save our lives. In other words, when our lives are threatened, we will automatically teleport out. Although we will not be killed in the end, we will completely lose the crown prince's battle. Therefore, when you attack, do your best to attack the third prince. As long as he is eliminated, we will win. Of course, they will also attack me crazily. So, you must be very careful," the eighth prince said in a deep voice. Next, Taoist Long and the other Almighties began to analyze the battle. Who would be defending, who would be attacking, and who would be sneak attacking? These all had to be discussed. At the very least, they could not act like headless flies. Needless to say, the main attacker was Lin Xian, together with the other powerful Almighties. These Almighties either had extremely violent attributes such as lightning and fire, or they had powerful attacks such as swordsmen and sabermen. The defense was represented by Taoist Long. The other Almighties mainly had ice, earth, water, and other defensive attributes. In other words, those who had supreme defensive artifacts would do their best to protect the eighth prince. The sneak attack was mainly carried out by the Lord of the Underworld. This kind of assassination, darkness, and speed Almighties were all listed as the main sneak attack force. In addition, there were also formations, soul attacks, and demonic beasts. Since they had discussed the grouping, they decided to take action. However, these people did not plan to take the initiative to look for them. They decided to use Lin Xian to lure the third prince and the others out. They would wait at ease for the exhausted. Lin Xian naturally agreed to this suggestion. After they had set up the formation, Lin Xian moved out. He came to the outside world to attract everyone's attention, especially the third prince and the others. Chapter 2166. After they finished setting up the formation, Lin Xian made his move. He came to the outside world to attract everyone's attention, especially the third prince's men. Boom! As soon as Lin Xian came out, he raised his hand and tore apart more than a dozen mountains and shattered a few rivers. He even blasted 3 Almighties away. His appearance naturally attracted the attention of others. "Damn it, it's that kid. That kid is here again. Quickly report to the third prince. We can't let him escape again." Many figures flashed quickly. They didn't make a move immediately. Instead, they called for reinforcements. That was because after knowing Lin Xian's combat strength, no one dared to fight with Lin Xian alone. Buzz, buzz, buzz. Lin Xian floated in the sky and formed an ice bow in his hands. One after another, frost arrows shot out and exploded in all directions. Instantly, the kings who wanted to escape to deliver the message were all blasted into pieces. He only left one person behind. That person was the third prince's man. That person fled quickly like a shooting star. He even used a secret technique to cover his body with blood to increase his speed. the third prince. A blood-red light descended from the sky and rushed into a valley. The third prince and his men were in the valley. At that moment, they were resting and adjusting to their peak condition. However, the voice in the sky woke them up. In the next moment, the third prince and the other almighties opened their eyes. What's going on? The third prince stood up and asked in a deep voice. The blood-red lightning rushed into the valley and turned into an almighty. He quickly said, "Third prince, that kid Lin Xian has appeared. He's killing people everywhere." "He's here. That's great." The third prince was overjoyed. The other almighties also stood up. "Let's go." The third prince waved his hand, and all the kings flew into the sky and flew into the distance. On the other side, Lin Xian floated in the sky and created some huge commotion from time to time. Soon, he squinted his eyes because he realized that there were more than 10 rays of light in the distance. They were like rainbows that were rushing toward him. "They're here." The corners of Lin Xian's mouth curled up into a smile. Naturally, he could clearly see the figures in front of him. It was the third prince's team. Therefore, in the next moment, his figure flashed and he flew into the distance. Behind him, the third prince and the others roared madly when they saw this scene. "Stop him quickly. Don't let him escape." Wong. At this moment, a grand cultivator in a green robe raised his hand and threw out 9 green flags. They covered the sky and locked onto an area. Boom. Lin Xian was also sealed in that space. Boom. However, in the next moment, the space shattered and the 9 green flags flew out. Lin Xian's figure flickered again, leaving that place. Behind them, the third prince and the others were chasing after them. They would definitely not miss such a good opportunity. Moreover, the distance between the two sides was getting closer and closer. Wong. Among them, 3 mighty figures who were proficient in speed burst forth instantly. They tore through the void and appeared in front of Lin Xian in an instant, blocking his path. The third prince and the other mighty figures behind him also caught up and cut off his escape route. In an instant, they surrounded Lin Xian. "Let's see where you can run to." Those mighty figures sneered. The third prince also walked out. "Obediently hand over the rare treasure, and I'll give you a quick death. Otherwise, I'll let you know what it's like to beg for death." Humph. Lin Xian turned around. There was no fear on his face. Instead, there was a cold smile on his face. "I've finally lured you guys out." "What do you mean?" Hearing this, the third prince frowned. The other mighty figures' expressions also changed. Could it be a trap? Boom. Just as that thought came to their minds, countless rays of light suddenly lit up in all directions, forming a formation that enveloped them all. Then, more than 10 figures flew over from the mountain range in the distance. They came to the void and looked ahead, laughing loudly. "Old 8, it's you guys." The third prince looked around with a gloomy face. That's right, these people were the 8th prince and the others. Lin Xian had lured them into a trap and then stopped, which led to the scene just now. "That's right, third brother, it's me. It's time to put an end to this," the 8th prince said in a deep voice. "Just you? You want to fight with me? You're still lacking." The third prince snorted coldly. Although the 8th prince's strength was on par with his, and they were both first-tier princes, he was confident that he could defeat the 8th prince and the others. His biggest target should be the first prince. "Old 8, take your men and get lost. Otherwise, I'll eliminate you early." I should be the one saying that to you. The 8th prince's expression gradually became serious. "I'll eliminate you today. After I'm done with you, I'll deal with the first prince. Who do you think you are? You want to eliminate me?" The third prince sneered in disdain. "Since you want to die, I'll fulfill your wish." A terrifying aura surged from the third prince's body. Then, a dragon-shaped shadow wrapped around his body. The mighty figures around him also exuded a powerful aura. In the Grand Imperial Hall, the royal family elders exclaimed when they saw this scene. Is the final battle finally about to begin? Calculating the time, it's about time. There were only 7 or 8 days left. It's about time to clean up. However, in the past, they had always started from the weak princes. They didn't expect that the 2 first-tier princes would fight in advance this time. They couldn't help but be shocked because the three princes who had the highest chance of becoming the crown prince were the first prince, the third prince, and the eighth prince. Now that the two of them were fighting, it would have a huge impact on the future. Who do you think will win this battle? I think it will be the eighth prince. He didn't suffer much damage. Moreover, Lin Xian obtained a rare treasure. I'm afraid that the eighth prince's strength will increase greatly. That was to be expected, as the third prince had suffered some damage in the Dark Canyon previously. However, I don't think so. I'm optimistic about the third prince. Although the third prince suffered some damage, the others obtained a lot of rare treasures. During this period, their overall strength could be said to have increased by leaps and bounds. Everyone discussed animatedly, each with different opinions. Everyone's analysis was reasonable. However, they didn't know what the final result would be. They could only watch patiently. They finally met Lin Xian again. At this moment, the first blade stood out. He exuded a terrifying saber in tint. Why? You want to fight with me? Lin Xian looked at him. That's right. I've explored 5 or 6 ruins during this period. My strength has increased greatly. This time, I won't lose to you. However, Lin Xian looked at him and shook his head. You're no match for me. Hearing this, the first blade snorted. I admit that you've obtained a rare treasure. However, I don't believe that you can fully use it now. The first blade's aura became more and more fierce. 7 terrifying saber seals appeared behind him. Chapter 2167. 7 Demon Blade. Kill. As soon as the battle started, he used his strongest killing move with his first strike. It seemed like he wanted to defeat Lin Xian and prove his strength. A huge blade light appeared between heaven and earth. It was as if the heavens had arrived, causing the hearts of the surrounding powerhouses to tremble. The first slash's strength had increased by so much. It was too terrifying. The powerhouses on the 8th Prince's side were shocked because they realized that the first slash's strength had increased greatly. It was a world of difference compared to when he first entered. They thought that the other party must have had an unimaginable fortuitous encounter during this period. However, Lin Xian shook his head slightly. Since the other party had made a move, he would let the other party see how much he had grown during this period of time. He stretched out his hands. On his left hand, a ball of icy aura surged rapidly. On his right hand, a black flame danced. Then, he formed a seal with his palms and slowly put his hands together. Buzz. Hell's Ice Lotus. The blue ice and black flame merged and turned into a blue and black lotus. It spun rapidly in Lin Xian's hand, emitting a monstrous destructive aura. Feeling this aura, everyone's expression changed. What kind of power was this? It was too terrifying. The powerhouses on the 8th Prince's side were shocked, and the 3rd Prince's pupil shrank. Damn it, this kid's strength is too terrifying. The first slash's expression was also serious because the aura of the Hell's Black Lotus was too terrifying. Even his body was trembling slightly. However, in the next moment, he gripped the long blade in his hand tightly and slashed down. Buzz. The huge blade shadow swooped down and turned into a silver river, slashing towards Lin Xian. Go! Lin Xian waved his left hand, and the Hell's Ice Lotus floated out quickly. Wherever it passed, the void was destroyed mercilessly. Boom! There was a shocking collision, and then the energy between heaven and earth exploded. The peerless blade shadow was instantly shattered and burned, scattering in all directions. As for the Black Fire Lotus, it collided with the body of the first blade and blasted it back. Puff! The first slash spat out a mouthful of blood, and half of his armor was shattered. He had lost. He had actually lost. And he had lost in one move. He had lost even faster than before. Could it be that the gap between the two of them had not narrowed, but widened instead? The first blade could not believe it. He could not accept this reality. Just as he was about to move, the chi and blood in his body began to churn violently, causing him to spit out another mouthful of blood. The 3rd Prince and the Grand Cultivators around him all became serious. This was because they realized that the other party's strength was too strong. He had definitely surpassed the elite almighties. Kill. Kill them all. The 3rd Prince roared. Boom, boom. The surrounding kings quickly counterattacked, and their auras flowed out. Many people rushed towards Lin Xian, while even more people rushed towards the eighth prince. When the eighth prince saw this scene, he waved his hand. Daoist Long released his king's domain and covered the eighth prince, and a few higher beings surrounded the eighth prince to protect him. The underworld king led a group of people and charged over. A great battle erupted, shaking heaven and earth. Everything within a range of 10,000 li was instantly destroyed. Terrifying energy surged into the sky like a volcanic eruption, causing the ground to collapse rapidly. The terrifying killing intent was like a tidal wave that swept out in all directions, causing the surrounding mountains to collapse. Under this kind of energy, nothing could be preserved. Buzz, buzz, buzz. The sovereign realms spread out in all directions, tearing apart the firmament. The terrifying light connected with the stars in the sky. It was a terrifying scene. Boom. Lin Xian held the demonic sword in his hand and quickly swung it, instantly sending a higher being flying. Blood splattered everywhere, and that person crashed onto the ground like a meteor. Boom. Then, he punched back. Hell's ice lotus appeared on his terrifying fist, and it directly smashed a king who had ambushed him from behind. Blood splattered everywhere. Lin Xian fought in the air like a god of war. The third prince's people felt their scalps go numb as they looked at Lin Xian in horror. On the other side, the underworld king and the others also attacked. In the sky, a huge purplish-black ball of light appeared, covering a radius of 1,000 li, forming a terrifying pressure. The other higher beings also attacked, causing the heavens and earth to explode. This battle was too terrifying. Even the elders of the royal family in the Grand Imperial Hall were nervous. Boom. However, the third prince was definitely one of the top princes, and the higher beings under him were also extremely terrifying. Therefore, not long after the battle, the eighth prince's side also suffered a blow. Many people were injured, and 1 or 2 were killed. It could be said that the battle was very tragic. Kill. The eighth prince roared, and the Tao of Dragon aura on his body quickly surged out. In the distance, Lin Xian and the others felt a pure energy surrounding them. This was the Tao of Dragon aura, which could be used to increase the power of other King Almighties. Now, the eighth prince was using it to provide energy for Lin Xian and the others. Indeed, under the Tao of Dragon aura, these King Almighties were all excited. You're not the only one who has the Tao of Dragon aura. I have it too. The third prince also shouted coldly, and the dragon-shaped shadow on his body roared rapidly. The King Almighties around him also received the power of the Tao of Dragon aura. Boom. Both sides fought again, causing the heavens and earth to shatter. This was a terrifying battle, and the terrifying power caused the entire ground to collapse. The void shattered, and nothing could stop it. The third prince's side went crazy, and the elite almighties all activated their domains, enveloping the surroundings. Lu Fei, Duan Qingqing, and the other young geniuses were pale. This crazy battle was a difficult test for them. Fortunately, they had obtained some opportunities before, and their strength had increased greatly. That was why they were able to narrowly avoid those killing moves. The eighth prince's side also fought back with all their might. The underworld king roared, and the pair of purple wings on his back were like heavenly blades, cutting one of the third prince's almighties in half. Blood splattered like a sea of blood, circling the sky. This King Almighties of Darkness was finally enraged. The dark aura on his body swept through the heavens and earth, and the surroundings were pitch black. It was as if he had come to the underworld. Boom. At this moment, 18 large flags suddenly appeared in the void, locking down the space and completely trapping Lin Xian. 5 almighties instantly appeared, and their 5 king domains overlapped as they attacked Lin Xian crazily. This was because they could see that the greatest threat here was not the older generation or the elite almighties, but this young man in his 20s. The other party's combat strength was too strong, and he would often severely injure them in just a few moves. This was too great a threat to them, and they had to get rid of him. Kid, go to hell. The 5 king domains flickered in the sky, and then they enveloped Lin Xian. Buzz. Lin Xian used the demigods and semi-devils, and he instantly tore through the void and dodged to the side. It's useless. You can't break my 18 flags. In the sky, a green-robed elder sneered. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.